All right, welcome everyone to the 7 p.m. City Council regular meeting of the Dearborn Heights City Council, and today is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Madam Clerk, can you please take roll call?
Yes, Dave Abdallah,
Here.
Hassan Ahmad,
Here.
Mo Beydoun,
Here.
Nancy Breyer,
Present.
Robert Constant,
Here.
Ray Muscat,
Here.
and Tom Wenzel.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Appreciate it. At this particular point, we're going to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask Councilman Bob Constant to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Next on our agenda is agenda approval. That's for the Dearborn Heights City Council approval of the amended agenda for the regular meeting of March 8th, 2022.
Council Chair,
Councilman Beydoun.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council approve the amended agenda of the regular meeting of March 8th, 2022 as submitted.
Support.
Okay, well, first of all, any discussion? So I'd like to amend the agenda, and I'd like to suspend the rules for the public comments on agenda items. I know we'll be voting for that later on, but at least for this particular meeting, I want to be able to give, like I personally believe in, an opportunity for residents that want to speak on agenda items to be able to go up and speak. So with permission of the council, we'll vote on this, and then we'll vote on the agenda.
Can you make a motion to suspend?
Yes, absolutely. But I'm just letting them know what I'm doing. So I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules for today, and then after we vote on this formally, then obviously we'll know where we're going, down the
Support.
line. But for tonight, so I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for tonight's meeting on agenda items, public comments.
Support.
Okay, motion made by myself, supported by Councilman Ray Muscat. Any discussion on that? All right. All in favor of suspending the rules to allow residents to be able to speak tonight, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. And now we're going to go back to the agenda.
Council Chair,
Go ahead, Councilman.
that is for us to be able to answer their questions correctly.
Correct.
Okay,
Thank you very much for clarifying. So in the past, when residents would speak, we as council members, as part of the rules, we did not have the opportunity to be able to answer back the residents whatever question that they may have. So we just basically stare at them. And I've just never believed in that. I've just believed that we should answer the questions that they may have on agenda items so that when we do vote on it, we've heard from the residents and we've answered whatever the questions that they may have. And that's why I'm suspending it for tonight, because it is at a later vote later on tonight. Thank you very much, Councilman. Okay, so all in favor of approving the agenda for May 8th, 2022 with the addition of suspending the rules for public comments on agenda items. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes.
Council Chair,
Councilman Ahmad.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council approve the minutes for the regular meeting of February 22nd, 2022, as outlined in 4-8.
Support.
Okay, motion by Councilman Ahmad, supported by Councilman Beydoun. Any discussions on that?
Council Chair,
Councilman, go ahead.
I'd like to reopen the meeting from last week regarding the removal of Canfield Center. And so I'm just going to ask my counsel here.
Okay, hold on, just give me 1 second, Councilman. So I know where, I don't mean you had talked, I know where you're going with this, but I just want to make sure we follow the rules, so for our counselor, Corporation Counsel Gary Miyake, at least I'll say the possibility of changing the vote to today. In order to do that, what is the right and formal way to do it? And what Councilman Beydoun's referencing is the vote in regards to the Canfield voting place, and then also, I know Councilwoman, and I talked to Councilwoman Nancy Breyer, also told her I'd allow her to speak if she'd like on that. In order to do that tonight, so changing the minutes and maybe possibly changing their votes, what is the proper process?
First of all, you would need to amend the agenda to add it to the agenda.
Okay.
Secondly, you would need to actually, you're not changing your vote, you're reconsidering.
You're rescinding.
Well, you can reconsider it, or you can rescind it and then adopt a new motion. So those are the two different ways.
So rescind it and then add it as an additional motion later on? In
No,
under 9?
you could actually end up, first of all, you need to add it to the amended agenda, the agenda that's
Okay,
here.
so we could add it under 9I.
Right, and then the second thing that you need to do is to either reconsider it, or, which would probably be the usual way in which you would do it, reconsider the decision, and then have a vote based on the reconsideration. The motion needs to be brought by one of the people who was on the prevailing side of the last vote. In other words, it would be a motion by the person who voted to change, to change the voting location.
Okay.
They would need to bring the vote.
So just to understand correctly, at this point, somebody would have to add this on the agenda,
Yes?
and then rescinding their votes, would they rescind it now or later on when we reconsider under 9I?
It would be later on under 9I, and it would
Okay.
be reconsidered, not rescind. Rescinding rescinds the motion that was adopted. Technically, this should be a reconsideration. In other words, changing, revisiting the vote that was already
Okay.
taken. And that motion, again, should be made by someone who is in the majority of the last vote, bringing the motion.
So, Council Chair, can I just
So-
add on a couple of things?
Based on the, well, let's do that during the discussion part, I'm just
Okay.
saying. So if, based on corporation counselor, if it's the majority, it'd be then, at that point, it was a no vote, I'm sorry, it was a yes vote to move it, so it'd be the people that had voted yes, one of the council members that had voted yes. So at that time, to the best of my recollection, if I'm not mistaken, it was Councilwoman Nancy Breyer, Councilman Constant, Councilman Ray Muscat, and I believe.
Tom?
Councilman Wenzel.
Yeah. So Councilman Tom Tom Wenzel was the last person. So one of the four would have to amend the agenda, is that correct?
Well, one of the four would end up having, you as a body could just agree to, among yourselves, by bringing a motion to amend the agenda right now, should actually bring a motion to suspend the rules, amend the agenda, to add that item as 9I.
Okay, so one of you four council persons would have to do that.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move to amend our agenda today in addition for 9I to reconsider the moving of the voting issue from Canfield to Crestwood. Support.
Okay, before we do that, 1 second, Councilman Baydun. Do you also want to change the additional vote for the other voting place?
No, I've
No,
talked to
just-
Lynn, and it will be under construction, so we can't move to Thorn.
So you don't want that move forward? Okay,
Right.
okay. So, and then also you'd have to suspend the rules, is that correct?
Yes, you should suspend the rules. It's a
And
two-thirds
also
vote.
suspend the rules for the one evening to allow this to be on the agenda.
Wouldn't it be 9J though, because there's a 9I already? Thank you.
No,
it's-
Would that be
no,
two
no, that
different-
was
No,
two
9I
different
was,
9I will take care of all
Okay,
of it.
Yeah.
okay.
It was 11A from last time.
Well, now it's 9 under.
Nine.
You
right,
should
so
have-
it's 9I, correct?
Council Chair, you should have ended up adding it to the agenda when the agenda approval was taking place. So now you suspend the rules because you are adding to the agenda yet again. And then when you suspend the rules, you can do it as a combined motion to suspend the rules and to add agenda item 9I, reconsideration of vote on moving polling location from Canfield to Crestwood High School.
Okay.
I think we have it. Do you have it?
You got that one?
So do you concur with that, Councilman?
Yes, I absolutely
Muscat?
do. We need a second. from
Support.
somebody-
We have-
Somebody from that said no, or said yes, I
It can
mean.
actually be someone who,
Anybody can second that?
that's
Okay,
correct.
I support.
Or
I think it's
Councilman, go
when we
ahead.
come to reconsider, it has to be.
Okay, so motion made by Councilman Ray Muscat, supported by myself. Is there any discussion on that? So, yes, Councilwoman.
I'm still sticking with my yes, because I have the same reasons. I work the elections, Ray works the elections, we know how many people come and go. When we have a 10% rate of people showing up for a primary, to sit there for 16 or 17 hours, which I do, and only have 30 to 50 people show up to vote in August, I don't think that's a good reason to take away the money that's coming in from the gymnasts and their equipment at Canfield. Because Crestwood is walking distance, people who want to vote will do it, And a lot of your seniors are going to do absentee, so I don't see a reason for it to be a problem.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Councilwoman, appreciate that. We are going to discuss that, of course, further under 9I, but,
Okay.
you'll have
That's
an
right.
opportunity to be able to
Yes.
repeat that if you'd like to. Okay, so all in favor, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Go with the eye on that.
Corporation Counsel, are we good?
Yes, and now you'll have to have the vote under 9I and the motion and.
When we get to it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and it'll just be made like a brand-new motion, correct? And then
Well,
we vote
it'd be-
again?
It'd be a motion to reconsider the decision to
move the
keep
polling place.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So next item on the agenda is public hearings and comment on agenda items. You will have, those in the public will have 2 minutes to come up to the,
We have to vote on approval of the minutes.
Correct.
we did,
We didn't vote.
No, we
on it.
suspended.
Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and vote on the minutes, no problem. So all in favor of the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of February 22nd, 2022, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda is public hearings and comment on agenda items only. This will be, each resident will have 2 minutes to speak. Please state your name, the city that you reside in, and the street that you live on, and you will have 2 minutes on agenda items only. Anyone from the public here that would like to speak on agenda items?
I don't have to.
And please, if you don't mind, the microphone as close as possible so that they can catch it on Zoom. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Pamela Harper, live on Helen Street in Garden City. I'm also an employee of the City of Dearborn Heights for almost 13 years. I'm here asking that the council not approve Agenda Item 9D, which is an increase in compensation for Corporation Counsel. It's essentially a raise for Corporation Counsel, as well as a raise for a firm that has not done any work for the city yet. I'm part of the union, the TPOAM, which represents the DPW, the ordinance workers, and the clerical. We have been told repetitively by the city that the city is in financial stress and there's no money for an increase in compensation. With that thought in mind, we've also received notice that we received a minuscule offer during our negotiations. The increase that corporate counsel is asking for on the low end is 4.65%. On the high end is 28.6% for their services. I'd like to ask this honorable body to not approve Agenda Item 9D. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. And for those in the audience and on the council, so that everyone's aware, negotiations are still in process right now between administration and the union. I do know there was, I did speak with the administration and then the mayor on this, and I don't know how much I could share, Mayor, but I'll share at least minimal. He is in favor of continuing negotiations. One of the concerns that there was there was a walkout during negotiations, and there was some talk of arbitration. But from the administration's end, I've spoken with them, I've spoken specifically with the mayor on this, and he's definitely in favor of continuing negotiations. But from his perspective, when there was a walkout, that's when negotiations could not continue. And I'm just stating what I've been told. Yes, absolutely.
She's got a minute left anyway.
Just in response to that, there was no walkout, first of all. Second of all, we've only had negotiations that produced anything one time since June 30th of 2021. So I'm not quite sure where this progress is he refers to, but it's not something that we've experienced.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for those in the audience and on Zoom, just to clarify a little bit, negotiations start with administration, between the unions and administration. Then when the contract is finalized and they've come to a full agreement, then it comes in front of this body, the city council, to make final approval or denial on whatever is in the contracts. But thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Mayor, anybody else? Okay. Anybody else in the audience have any public comments on agenda items only? All right, no one in the audience. All right, next up, Madam Clerk, is there anybody on Zoom that would like to comment on agenda items?
Oh, wait a minute. Somebody's clapping, but I don't know. I don't know who's clapping. I do not see any hands.
I don't see anybody either. Nope.
They must have just.
Okay. So seeing none, thank you very much, ma'am, appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is fund transfers and current claims.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move that Dearborn Heights City Council approve current claims 6-1 through 658 as submitted. Support.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Ray Muscat, supported by Councilman Constant. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take that to a vote. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is reports from city official. Item 9A, Corporation Counsel Miyake, revision to policy regarding public comment at city council meetings.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council adopt effectively immediately the revised policy regarding public comment at city council meetings as presented by Corporation Counsel Miyake on March 1st, 2022, together with his related letter of the same date as outlined in 9A.
Support.
That is also to allow council people to answer questions
Correct.
during agenda items.
Correct. So motion made by Councilman Muscat, supported by Councilman Baydoun. Any comments on that or discussion? So I'm the one that likes this thing, that's bringing this thing forward. And again, it's just to give the opportunity for residents that want to comment to not only be able to comment, but to be able to hear back from their representatives if they have a question for them. If they're just, like the young lady here, if it's just a comment that they want to make, then obviously they have a right to make that comment. But if it's an actual discussion or if they have a question, then we would have the opportunity as council members or maybe the administration to be able to answer if they chose to.
Before we vote.
Before we vote. So in the past, we would not be able to answer whatever question that you may have for us. And now with this, once we take it to a vote, if approved, we'll be able to answer you back. So,
Council Chair,
yes, Councilwoman.
I'd also like to ask if this includes the language that is used when people talk to us.
So, no, this does not, but I will tell you how I'm going to be running this thing in regards to language. If anybody goes up to the podium or on Zoom or in the audience, whatever it is, and they want to comment and have a conversation, they're more than welcome to. As you know, I am fully for that and to give people an opportunity. But it's got to be done in a respectful way. So, because there are, sometimes kids that watch this, whether on TV or sometimes in person, and just to keep it respectful, it's got to stay respectful. I'll just leave it at that. And for those that have heard me, they know what I'm talking about. It's got to stay respectful. Corporation Counsel Gary Miyake, go ahead.
Yeah, Council Chair, I would note that on page 3, the first full paragraph, this provision has not changed, where it says, in addition to any other applicable legal requirements, a person shall not engage in profane, obscene, or criminal speech or actions while addressing the council during the comment section at public comment. Moreover, a person shall not commit a breach of peace while addressing the council during the comment section of public comment. So all that remains the same, Councilwoman, and
Thank you, Council.
Sure.
Council Chair.
Thank you, Gary, appreciate it.
Council Chair.
And like I said, I did look into it in multiple facets. I'm not going to allow it, honestly. Especially because there's another thing too, per FCC guidelines, we could be sued and owe a lot of money in penalties if we allow that, because remember, it's on television. Councilman Baydoun.
And just, you bringing this up and putting this forward, I honestly, I didn't know for the longest time they weren't allowed to entertain anybody if they asked us something. So when you said it to me, I was quite surprised at first, but I'm glad that you brought this up, honest to God.
Yes.
This is something I think that it was much needed, and it's very simple. If somebody doesn't want to respond, they don't have to respond. But if you feel like you want to respond, you're entitled to respond.
Correct. And that's a good point that you brought. So if a council member does not want to respond,
They don't need to.
for whatever reason, they don't have to. But they can if they prefer to respond. And I'm of the feeling that if somebody takes the time to come to the council meeting or go on Zoom and gets up to ask a question, they have a right to have the answer from us if that's what they're asking. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this thing to a vote. Item 9A, all in favor, please, motion made by Councilman Muscat, seconded by Councilman Baydoun. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is Corporation Counsel Miyake, change in start time for City Council regular meetings.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council change the standard start time for the City Council regular meetings from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m., effective starting with the next regular City Council meeting. Further, City Clerk Sienna shall post on or before March 11th, 2022, a public notice stating the new date times and place of the City Council regular meetings as required by Section 5 of the Open Meetings Act as outlined in 9B.
Support.
Motion made by Councilman Muscat, supported by Councilman Ahmad. Any discussion on that? Well, I'd like to make a comment. This was something that I've been pushing forever, and I thank God that now it's on the agenda. And the mayor and the clerk's office all agreed with me on this. The concern that I had was a lot of residents, or some residents, would show up to the council meetings, especially during the public comment section, to speak of whatever it is that they want to speak about. And I always had a hard time with somebody coming in and staying here from 7 p.m. until 11:15 or whatever it is, just to be able to make a comment on a problem they've got with a tree or a problem they've got with a council member or whatever it is. That's just too long. And then number two, for administration, it is not fair to them to, finish work at 5 p.m., wait around until 7 p.m., stay here until 11:15 p.m., drive home 10, 15, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and then still be here the next morning at 7:30 and 8 a.m. That is just, it's just too much of a burden between everybody involved. So I think 6 p.m. is a perfect starting point where they get off at 5 p.m. Even residents that get off at 5 p.m., half hour, 45 minutes to do what they need to do, and then we can start our meetings at 6 p.m. So hopefully we can get this thing to pass. I'm fully in favor of it. So with that, let's go ahead and take it to a vote. All in favor of the motion 9B, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, Councilman.
Next item on the agenda is item 9C, and this is from Corporation Counsel Miyake, appointments of assistants, Corporation Counsel from O'Reilly, Rensselaer, PC.
Council Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council concur with the appointments of the following individuals by, through, and with the assistance of the law firm of O'Reilly, Rensselaer, PC as Assistant Corporation Counsel. Donald P. Denault Jr., Lawrence Scott, Clark Andrews, Mark Robuski, John Bartley, and Haley Tomic as outlined in 9C.
Support.
I think we
For Councilman, you skipped a couple of
skipped
them.
Yeah, and
Keith.
Keith Jablonski, Nathan Petrusik, Brian Grant, Scott Rourke, Elisa Albright, and Mark Brower, and Haley Tomczyk, all with the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe, as outlined in 9C.
No. Okay, Councilman, gotta go back, please. Because the
All
motion's
with
gotta be
the law
made
firm-
properly.
All with the law firm of O'Reilly, Rensselaer, PC, as outlined in item 9C.
Okay, thank you. Motion made by Councilman Constant, supported by Councilman Baydoun. Any discussion on that?
Council Chair.
Councilman Baydoun, go ahead.
As I read this, and I saw that, Gary, our corporation counsel, who does a great job, is entitled to choosing somebody that's working alongside with you. Is that correct, Council?
Well, I choose, but it's with the mayor's concurrence. That's
Okay.
required by the charter.
Okay, oh, yeah, and it's and so this was brought forward. Were there any other type of bids, anybody else that put forward to this, or did we just pick, which, again, it's...
I contacted a couple of other firms, one of which you would be aware of. They do work for the city. They do a lot of municipal work. I reached out to them like 3 different times. They did not seem to be interested. I reached out to another firm that's a local firm. The mayor suggested it, but frankly, the hourly rate that they were talking about was $250 per hour, which I considered to be not in keeping with the city's budgetary concerns. So obviously, I feel that a raise is necessary because we really haven't had any real raise except $5 per hour since 2015. I talked to O'Reilly Rensilio. I knew of the firm, and I had spoken to an individual I've known since college who's an assistant city attorney in the city of Warren. I asked her how this firm is. She said they're great. We've had great experience with them, and she gave me a couple of names, including Mr. Don Denault, who's should be actually on the meeting. He could address some more of their qualifications. They do a lot of excellent municipal work. They represent the city of Sterling Heights, and they've also agreed that their rate would not be portal to portal, namely from Sterling Heights to us, so basically just when they're around here. We've discussed things. I think it'd be an excellent fit, and I'm really looking forward to being able to work with them in this capacity.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
so obviously I spoke with you, Corporation Counsel, and I asked you if you don't mind, if you could give, I know you gave a little bit of information, but maybe a briefing as far as why this change is being made. If you remember, I talked to you about that.
Sure.
And then also I asked you if you could have this particular firm, somebody, one of their representatives, at least give us just a general outline, at least meet them, maybe for a minute or two, and you mentioned that one of them would be on to be able to speak to us if you can.
Right. Basically, there were some concerns. The prior firm that served this role has had a few difficulties in the not too recent past. I think they've also had some expansion issues. The mayor and I had discussed it along with the chief of staff, and the mayor wanted me to discuss things with a few different firms to see what we could end up doing to perhaps, move this change and go forward with it. And I reported back to him, and this was the firm that we felt good about with respect to that. And like I said, Mr. Denault, I don't know if he can raise his hand or if
He's there.
He's there.
Yeah, he's on. But can you also at least address to the audience this particular firm's specific responsibility as far as the city is concerned? What part would they be handling?
At this time, what they would be handling would be approximately one half of the prosecution. They would be dealing with building department issues, Michigan Tax Tribunal issues, a lot of the same work that I do, but it's too much work for one person to do and do appropriately. They would be dealing with more of that. They would be dealing with some of the litigation work that Sechrist Wardle was handling, for example, the Manson-Mora class action lawsuit. And they would be handling probably more of the building and engineering department issues as well. And I'm planning to have them do more things with subpoenas and FOIA requests, which have proven to be a bit of an impediment to me being able to do a lot of the other things I need to do for the mayor and council, because all of a sudden I have this, this needs to be responded to within 6-day time frame. And it's just extremely difficult to still keep up the level of service that the city deserves.
You were juggling, I think, I counted like 58 different balls for the city, so I'm glad we're going in this direction. Thank you, Corporation Councilor. You said you have the representative on. If he could give us maybe a minute or two, introduce himself and just tell us a little bit about his firm, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Is he on?
He should be on. I asked him to unmute.
There he is. Okay.
Good evening,
there he
everyone. Good evening. I hope
Good
you can
evening.
hear and see me okay. My name is Don Denault. I am one of the managing partners at O'Reilly Rensilio. I have spent my entire career at that firm. Had some great municipal mentors and have been a municipal lawyer from the very beginning of my career. The name Paul O'Reilly probably isn't a famous name for most people, but in our circles, he very much was. And he was my mentor until he passed away much too young in 2003. Our firm has been representing the city of Sterling Heights for over 50 years. Paul was actually the one who wrote the charter and created the city out of a township back in 1968. I came on in the mid-90s and have been enjoying municipal law ever since. We represent a number of municipalities. We're experienced in all aspects of municipal law. And one of the things I like to tell people is they don't teach you much about municipal law in law school. You don't really know what it is until you're immersed in it, but it's everything. Municipalities need lawyers who do everything, and that's one of the benefits of our firms. We're about 20 lawyers, depending on how you count our of-counsel relationships, and we have people who are experienced in anything a municipality can need, whether it's tax tribunal, FOIA, Open Meetings Act, ordinance drafting, police training, litigation defense. We've done it, seen it, and do it all. Very happy that Gary reached out to me. We really hit it off. I didn't know Gary previously. You know, you'd think in municipal circles we would have crossed paths once or twice, but we just haven't. But very honored that we came so recommended to you and to him. And I'm here to help and serve and do whatever I can with my team to make Gary look amazing for all of you and do a great job for all of you and for the community. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
I think
Thank
it's going
you
to be
very
hard
much.
to make him
Anybody
look
have-
good, but he's shining out here. But I'm glad that we won't be losing Gary on here, and he'll still be sitting right next to the mayor. And, I mean, definitely is a whiz when it comes to our charter, and, you know, thank you for that, Gary. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Council.
Yes, thank you, Gary, and thank you, Donald. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Councilman.
Just would, Gary, if you know, or Donald, if they have done work before for the MML, you know, for the municipal risk pool, like Cummings McClory has.
I believe that they have, but Don could address that better than I could.
I'm happy to address that. The MMRMA has utilized our firm to defend the city of Sterling Heights since the MMRMA took over the insurance defense part of that city. Before that, it was Gallagher Bassett, and both of those insurance carrier firms utilized our firm for all litigation defense, trip and falls, police excessive force cases, civil rights matters, you name it. And it's part of our arrangement as the city attorneys and the longtime city attorneys there that we continue to represent the city. We know it so well. As somebody mentioned about, you know, Gary's institutional history and knowledge, we have the same history and knowledge there that we bring to the table. So it makes perfect sense for us to be the defenders of all of the lawsuits
Okay,
through the MMA at the city.
all right, Mr.
Thank
Denault, thank you. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, Council Chair, and one of the other things I've noted, because I spoke to some lawyers from other, I spoke to, for example, the Livonia city attorney, not because I just wanted kind of some input from him. And the only places that I'm aware of that regularly do with their city attorneys work with MMRMA in quite the same way are really like Sterling Heights and Livonia. Now, maybe that's because I'm not as familiar with a lot of them, but that might be something that we can segue into with O'Reilly Rensselaer. And, you know, we're charged $190 per hour by these other firms through MMRMA. We might be able to actually get a better litigation rate as suggested and as requested in the next item. So
Okay,
just
thank
something to keep in mind.
No problem.
Council Chair.
Thank you. One quick second, Councilwoman Nancy Breyer is next.
That was one of the questions. I want to thank you for telling us you're not going to charge us mileage from Sterling Heights to Dearborn Heights. That's great. And I wanted to ask if there is any chance for negotiation on that rate you're accepting.
I really appreciate that question. Gary and I did talk about a number of ideas for what an appropriate rate would be. We're very comfortable at the numbers we've submitted to you, not because we're asking for a lot, but because we're really offering, I think, an exceptional value for a very low rate. When you think about a lot of the work we do, as municipal lawyers, if it's volume-based, if it's really, really driven by working every day on municipal work, the rate can be lower, and you see that in a lot of the municipal lawyer rates that are out there. But in other things, specialties and niches like school law, which I handle a number of school district clients as well, the rates are well into the mid-200s. So we thought this rate that we proposed to you tonight was a very reasonable amount, considering municipal lawyer inflation has not really kept pace with the real world inflation. If you think about the late 90s when I started, it was probably in the $95 an hour range. So it really hasn't gone up too much in 25 years. And we can keep it that way because of the volume that we do for everybody. And obviously we care about the communities enough that we're not here to ask for more. So I'd like to keep it where it is if I could, but respectfully, hopefully that helps answer your question.
Okay, thank you, Donald. Does that answer your question?
Sorry about that.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. Councilman Tom Wenzel, go ahead.
Thank you.
Microphone, please.
Do we have someone currently doing this job that you're proposing them to take on? And secondly, in the last paragraph, it says for special legal services, they charge $450 per half hour and $730 per hour. How does that compare to the rates we're currently getting charged?
I'm sorry, Councilman, it actually says for legal services specifically involving these prosecution dockets, the city shall pay attorney fees of $450 per half day, not half hour, half day.
Half day.
And $730 per full day.
Okay. How does that, do we have someone doing that now, and how does that rate compare to what?
Well, technically speaking, they've been appointed by me with the concurrence of the mayor. That's what's required. The mayor likes to bring this to you to end up getting your feedback. Ultimately, this honorable body has to approve any of the rates. So the current rate schedule is, they're willing to abide by the current rate schedule, but they told me we really actually need to see the rates increase. And I should note that the prior firm, Seacrest Wardle, Mark Roberts, has told me for quite some time that the rates have to increase. That the rates, he said, we should be looking at closer to 170 per hour. And if you recall back in 2019 when we raised things from 135 to 140 per hour, Mark basically told me that's the minimum amount, otherwise we will not be able to represent the city.
Is Seacrest Waddle still working for the city?
Only transition right now so that O'Reilly Rensselaer can end up taking over. So this is, O'Reilly Rensselaer is filling the niche that Seacrest Wardle has done for a good number of years.
Okay. All right, thank you.
They'll be, for those that are not, they'll be working as part of our prosecutor's office.
Well,
Is
no,
that correct?
well, O'Reilly Rensselaer will be.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because previous to that, Mark Roberts was working as our prosecutor in addition to Gary Miyake.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions or discussions on that? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take this to a vote. All in favor, please state aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is item 9D. This is Corporation Counsel Miyake, request for increase in compensation for Corporation Counsel and firms employing assistant corporation counsels.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move that Dearborn Heights City Council change and increase the standard compensation rates for Corporation Counsel and firms employing assistant Corporation Counsel as stated in Corporation Counsel Miyake's March 1st, 2022 letter regarding request for increase in compensation for Corporation Counsel and firms employed assistant Corporation Counsels. These changes and increases are effective March 9th, 2022 as outlined in 9D.
I will support for discussion.
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Muscat, supported by Councilman Baidoon. Just in case, for those in the audience, I think it's only fair, and those on Zoom, that they know the amounts. So I'm going to just read them off just in case. Prosecution attorney fees, number one would be district court. Number two, $450 per half day. This would be an increase from $430 per half day. Item B, $800 per full day. This would be an increase from $730 per full day. Item C, $150 per hour for all non-district court docket prosecution legal services. This would be an increase from $140 per hour. General counsel attorney fees, $160 per hour for non-prosecution, non-litigation legal services, and this would be an increase from $140 per hour. This also includes the Michigan Tax Tribunal and other administrative proceedings. Litigation attorney fees from $180 per hour for litigation services where there is an actual court case other than a prosecution court case. This would be an increase from $140 per hour, so from 140 to 180. Paraprofessional fees, $90 per hour for paralegal, law clerk, and/or legal assistant services regardless of area, namely prosecution, general counsel, or litigation. And however, the city has routinely approved Secret's Wardle rate of $80 per hour for such services. Thus, this can be deemed an increase from the $80 per hour to $90 per hour. And the last one here says in 2019, our honorable body increased the hourly rate for legal services from $135 per hour to $140 per hour. And this was necessary because Secret's Wardle informed our corporation counselor that the minimum increase necessary to keep them from no longer performing legal services for the city. And and prosecution docket district court attorney fees, I'm giving you an abbreviation here, $553 per half day, $897 per full day. Non-prosecution, non-district court docket attorney fees, $166 per hour. And paraprofessional, $98.40 per hour.
And Council Chair, if I may, those last rates that you said would be taking into account the CPI data for inflation. In other words, if things had kept pace since 2015, we would be getting $553 per half day, $890, $790 per full day, $166 per hour, and the paraprofessional rates would be $98.40.
Okay.
So so we are asking for, in general, substantially less than what inflation would be.
Okay, so CPI, for those that are not familiar with it, is the Consumer Price Index, and that's somewhat similar to inflation.
Right.
Thank you, Corporation Counsel. One more? Go ahead.
If I may, again, the genesis for this was not just bringing in O'Reilly Rensselaer. This was something that was going to have to end up being done regardless because the rates were low. Mr. Roberts said if it was going to continue, this is what we were going to end up, we were going to need to end up having an increase for them to stay on. Mr. Denault and I had spoken about these, the rates in general. We had gone back and forth. Like I said, I spoke to another firm that was saying $250 per hour. The standard rate that the city ends up paying for services through MMRMA is $190 per hour. And I would note one other thing that does distinguish us as independent contractors from city employees. We pay for all of our own benefits, all of our costs of doing business. We are not employees. So while city employees may be in a position where their wages stay the same, we know that like 2/3 of their compensation package is benefits, and those benefits all increase in cost to the city. So for us, these costs will increase and have increased, and that just cuts into our bottom line. It cuts into our net. In other words, I still have to end up paying increased benefit costs every year because of inflation. So does O'Reilly Rensselaer. And this is to make up for that, as opposed to, for example, healthcare costs can go up 10% per year, and a city employee in general doesn't see that cost. So just something to keep in mind with respect to this. We bear the cost as outside contractors for all of the increases in costs, and we need to continue to, in order to do that, we need to end up having a rate that's much closer to what would be considered to be an ordinary rate.
You're referencing obviously pensions, healthcare, et cetera, all handled by you, obviously not through the city.
That is correct. And rent and all the rest of the things that a
Business
business
expenses.
has to pay for, and those have all gone up since 2015, which city employees don't end up bearing.
Well, just to be fair, let's keep the two separated. Just to be fair, let's discuss this one only for right now. Is there anything else that you want to add on this in regards to the?
No, perhaps Mr. Denault could end up adding in some information too, since
Okay.
Their firm represents a
All right,
good
Mr.
number of
Dunal, I'll give
municipalities.
you 2 minutes if you could give us your spiel on this.
Sure, I won't need 2 minutes. Gary said it well. I think, when you think about what outside counsel bring to municipal work, we do bring the benefit of expertise, specializations, and experience without the increased behind-the-scenes costs that cities often see for everyone else that does great work for them. We do bear the cost of, copy machines going up in rental prices, and paper and ink and staff and benefits, and the rent of our facilities, and any extra little things that we need is not a city expense. We bear those costs. We do not pass it along to you. So Gary did, to be fair, beat me up a little bit, when we started talking. I had hoped to go a little bit higher than we're actually at tonight. But we thought this was a fair number, and I'm certainly not asking for any sort of percentage increase going forward, year by year or anything like that. This is a firm number that we'd like to see for an extended period of time with the city.
Okay. Thank you, Donald. Any other discussions on this?
Council Chair.
Councilman, go ahead.
So, look, it's, I'm sitting here, I'm looking ahead of me. I see a lot of employees here from the city. It seems like nobody wants to address what's happening with respect to Donald and our corporation counsel. I don't want to turn this down. I've said to the mayor a year ago, you want good employees, you pay good employees, you pay good wages. And that goes across the entire board. That goes to our directors, that goes to corporation counsel and whomever is going to come represent the city, and that also goes to all of our union employees who work for us here at City Hall. I'm all for paying good employees. Now, we also have to be understanding of what the city can and can't afford. And I'm not to say that, corporation counsel and his staff and whoever he brings on is not going to have a bunch of expenses, but that also goes for both sides. And I'm not trying to make this a A versus B or C versus D. This isn't about that. I'm not trying to pump one side up versus the other side. I think everybody's in negotiation. I personally want to give this raise. I am not opposing this at all. But I also think that this is something that can potentially be tabled until further notice. So I would ask my colleagues to do that, and I would hope that this wouldn't put Donald in a position where he wouldn't want to work with us. Because Donald, I'm going to be completely honest with you, and if you can hear me, I'm going to advocate for you. I'm going to advocate for raises for everybody, but we also have to make sure that it's an even playing field for everybody across the board. Those are just how my thoughts are. That's how I feel. I believe, speaking with some of our colleagues here, a lot of us also feel the same way. I'm somebody that grew up in a union household, but I also have a lot of friends that are attorneys who I understand have to pay their own health insurance, have to pay, their own expenses for rent space, office spaces, and things of that nature. But those are just my thoughts today, and so that's where I'm going to stand. I'm going to ask that we table this until further notice.
Okay. Well,
Council Chair?
Yes, Councilwoman, go ahead.
All right, you and I and Hassan all understand the difference between independent contractors and employees. I had 35 years' experience in the real estate business. David has that now, I believe, or very close. Hassan is working toward it. And yes, we had to pay for all those extras ourselves. However, the city is in dire straits financially right now, whether everybody believes it or not. And I do think that maybe Gary could give a little, just a little.
Well, if you wanted me to end up, when everything went difficult for the city, we all ended up taking a cut. I can't see us, taking a cut, and I really don't know how we could justify, particularly again, we have to pay our employees. We have to, we have to pay the cost of doing business. Again, those are not things, that's taking it from the start. In other words, it's not like we're paying people because we want to end up paying them. We're paying them because we have to pay them in order to provide a service. So perhaps I could speak to Mr. Denault about this more, about perhaps tweaking
Councilman,
this.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I wouldn't even want you to do that. I just want this tabled, and I think these are fair. If anything, they're very low, to be honest.
Council Chair?
I share that with you.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, let me, Councilman Muska asked to speak first. Go ahead, and then you're next.
I'm very torn about this. I've been a union person my whole life. My dad was union before me. But I need to separate what we as a council can do and what we can't do. And we don't have any power in negotiations. Once the contract of negotiations come before us, we get to speak our mind at that point. This is the process that has been set for everyone, any municipality, and it's a tough decision to make, but we have to separate the two, okay? I don't want to have my brothers and sisters look at me and say, well, you're approving something, but you won't give me. I don't make those decisions. None of us make those decisions in negotiation. You can voice your opinion when it comes time, when the contract reaches you. But this is something that is totally irrelevant to what was going on.
Correct.
So just want to let everybody know that.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council Chair?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor is next. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Again, I want to reiterate what Mr. Miyake said, so we do have a lot of items right now that, I can't remember how many, probably 30, 40 items that we're asking Mr. Miyake to assist with. So there's no way right now, as we have the items, even with, two people helping us to get through these items, there's a lot of items that are on hold, and it's costing the city a lot of money. So by withholding this one here, this item here, you're taking a risk of affecting the city in other ways. There's a lot of different contracts that we need to draft. For example, the Warren Valley Golf Course. If we don't do this one here, we might be shut down for several months if we get this contract, even if we get a good bid, in the next few days. So there's a lot of items. I can share with the council all the items that we have right now waiting for the attorney or even the assistance that we had from Mr. Miyake to find us another source that can help us with these items. We've been waiting on these items to be done. There's some items we waited on for 6 months. So there's that, the ARPA stuff that, we're trying to do with infrastructure. We have few lawsuits for water issues. Again, we're waiting on that. We got a call today at another house that, there was bond money that we have. If we don't use that, it might expire. So then the city has to pay for the bond money because we were too slow to act on it. So there's a lot of things I can't discuss obviously here because there's litigation. So we definitely need to get this thing to the agenda. Otherwise, you guys are costing the city a lot of money. And again, I can share with you the items because, we can't discuss here, but there's a lot of issues that we have to get through. And by you guys holding this here, I don't know what law firm is going to help us to get through these items. We talked to several law offices, and it's not just those two, Mr. Miyake, if you can remember. There's nobody that wanted less than 250. So by this one here, we were lucky. We talked to MMRA. We talked to also MML. There's nobody's going to give us these rates. So you guys can hold this. Again, you're just going to have to pay somewhere else.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Tom Wenzel.
Thank you. All due respect to the mayor, we have a lot of other issues in the city from a backlog of pothole repair and clerical work stacking up. I don't want to table this issue. I want to vote no on it today. Our union employees, this came before us today. Our union employees have been waiting for something for over 9 months. So I think it's unfair to even talk about giving someone some extra money when we have our hardworking backbone of our city waiting for a contract for over 9 months.
Okay. I'll tell you my views on this. First of all, I've always been of the opinion you pay people well, you keep good people. You pay people well, you attract better, I don't mean better in terms of humanly better, I'm talking about better skilled people. You pay people well, you keep people that have good experience in the city. The last thing you want in any city is to have continuous turnover, whether it's attorneys or administrative, union members, everybody else. I have been of the opinion, I have been of the philosophy, and I will always be of the philosophy, you pay people better, you get better skilled people, and you keep people, and you keep the experiences that they bring to the table. I can tell you right now, there's probably 8,000 attorneys in just the city alone. But I, for one, value the job that our corporation counselor Gary Miyake brings to the table. I value the experiences he's got in his head that you can't get on a database, and you can't get it from somebody just fresh out of college or somebody from, a whole nother city. So to me, if you want to get good skilled labor, you got to pay them well. Side note, they're going up on a per hour basis to $150 per hour. If you've ever hired attorneys to do legal, and I'm not referencing you specifically, Councilman, but if anybody's ever hired attorneys for legal work, it is not $140 or $150 per hour. You're going to have to pay to get good attorneys to work for you. So we got to keep that in mind. Now, as far as the talk about the elephant in the room, the union is concerned. I'm all with you, Councilman. As I've said it before, and I'll say it again, anything that comes in front of me personally, I'm not speaking as a body, for a raise of something that's fair pay or even a little bit above fair pay, I'm always going to vote yes on it. Almost every time. I'm saying it publicly, including the union members. And I hope and pray, that the negotiations between the union members and administration goes forward. Again, I know you mentioned, the young lady over there mentioned that did not happen. This was an understanding I had, that there was a walkout. I hope, and even if it happened or didn't happen, for right now, let's move forward, not with arbitration. Let's have a conversation. Sit down at the table, both parties. I'm sure everybody wants to work it out. I can't see why anybody would not want to work it out, including administration. I've had many conversations with administration, the mayor's office, specifically the mayor. And I know the mayor wants to work it out. But I also know, and these negotiations become a little tense. Maybe both sides can take their tensity, jackets off, and go back to the negotiating table to work to something favorable for all. I want you guys to be paid fairly, as fair, even better than fair. I don't even like the word fair. And when it comes in front of our body, I, for one, I'm saying it publicly, unless I'm crazy, will be voting yes on it. But at the end of the day, both parties got to come to the negotiating table. With that being the case, I don't want to hold what the corporation counsel and his team are doing hostage. It just would not be right, because he had nothing to do with it. They got to be fairly compensated. If I were deciding on the union today, I know how I'd vote, but I'm not the one deciding on it. But I've made my opinion public now and in the past. Councilman, go ahead.
I do agree with Councilman Winslow that union members, they need to have a contract. I do urge the administration to move forward ASAP on it. It's not fair to keep them waiting. But on the second hand, I do agree with Councilman Muscat that we do have to separate the two issues here. We do need the services from the Corp Council. So I do have a suggestion. What about if we split the difference and increase right now? Would that work if we can vote on it today?
I'm sorry.
Like split the difference in the raise that you're asking for between the city and yourself?
I would have to actually find out if Mr. Denault is fine with that. I don't know that I have the...
Can we ask him right now, or?
I guess if
he's got a huge smile on his face.
Is he on? Okay.
Yes, he's got a huge smile on his face.
If he's willing to address it, then I'm fine. The important thing is I need a partner. When I say that, I mean I need a firm that can end up assisting me in the way that it's been done in the past. This is a great fit. And if they have a problem with it, I'm going to have a problem, because I have to tell you, I am at a point where, I work every single day of the week. I just can't maintain this level of intensity. And I do have my own private practice besides, but that's always been understood that would be something that would end up being there. As a matter of fact, Mayor Canfield insisted on it when she originally appointed me back in 1999 to this position. So, so anyways, I hope that addresses things. If Mr. Denault has anything to say, then I would be...
I'm just suggesting, instead of tabling the thing today, if he's okay with it, maybe we can move forward with it.
I'll see if he, if he has anything to say, then I guess he could say something with respect to that, Councilman. Again, and again, from my perspective, it's a matter of me making sure I have someone to work with me who has the experience that I need. I mean, I could potentially pick out other lawyers. There are lawyers who can do, for example, prosecution pretty easily, but they don't have the background in the zoning and the building and the water and sewer litigation and all these other things. And really, when you think about it, you know, it's not that unusual to charge an hourly rate, especially for the level of skill that they have, for private clients of $300 per hour. Same thing for me.
Council Chair.
And Council Chair, I'm sorry, also, I mean,
Mayor.
one thing you guys are not addressing is the budget for legal is much smaller than everything else in the city. You're talking about $400,000, $450 budget for legal service. You know, there's other cities, they have, you know, even the same size as Dearborn Heights is almost twice the budget.
Correct.
So, I mean, this is ridiculous. We're going back and, I mean, we're not buying potatoes here. You know, getting good attorneys to help us with a lot of items. Like I said, you know, you guys, like, again, you guys can table this, but it's affecting city operation. And you know, this is,
I can tell you, I, for one, am in favor of these increases because I think it's only fair to there's been no increases since 2019, and this is no reflection on the other negotiations going on in the city. I am personally in favor of it. I personally think we should vote on it today.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
we do have a motion on the table.
Correct.
And we can, through our votes, but I caution everybody, the big elephant in the room to me is Warren Valley Golf Course.
Councilman, can we entertain?
We still lose, you know, we lose Warren Valley. We're talking $3, $4, $5 million. So just be aware that, again, like I said before, we need to separate the two, and we can vote on this. Contracts come, we vote on that.
Correct.
And we can make our voices heard at that time, and the administration will hear from us. Okay, so I just want to make that perfectly clear
So,
again.
Councilman, go ahead, I'm sorry, Constant.
Regarding the hourly rates, Gary, as I understand it, so these were negotiated, you talked to several firms. This firm was the most reasonable, and this is a negotiated amount.
Well,
So
they
at this
were-
point, to say, you know, to cut something in half or something, this was negotiated. This is not a small thing, the hourly rate, it's a very big thing. So it's not something that we can just change, you know, unless the firm agrees right here and now, correct?
Right, and that was part of it, as Mr. Denault said. I kind of beat up on him a little. I always try to end up getting a good rate for, or return for the city whenever I'm involved in a negotiation. I think you've heard that. People say that any number of times, so.
Councilman, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. And I was just having a quick discussion. What if we approve this and we keep the pay the same for the first 90 days? And then come 90 days, it's back to what we're approving or asking it to be, or we bring it back to council. But as long as, you know, one, it keeps the new firm to come here. We can even do 60 days. It's 60 days of payments where we were once at. It's not a huge an increase of prices. I think the highest I read that I have written down here is from 140 to 180. Everything else is about $10 increase. I really don't even believe it's a huge increase. I mean, even if you came back at me at $200 an hour, which I'm not saying I would want you guys to do, but if it did, I would have been okay with it, because looking at legal fees, and you know, somebody like myself who have used attorneys, this is very, very inexpensive. I'm about to hire them. But aside from that, why don't we do a 60 days, have the councilman re-amend his motion, approve for 60 days to keep what we were once paying Mark Roberts, and in 60 days, we can bring that back to the table. So, I mean, I think it leaves everybody happy. It's 60 days. It gets a workload off for yourselves. It allows us to work on Warren Valley Golf Course. And then in 60 days, we still have negotiations, and it comes back in front of us.
Council Chair.
I'm not going to remove.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
I mean, again, you guys, the council, you guys approve it. But again, like I said, you know, we have a lot of items right now. We're suffering trying to, I mean, Mr. Miyake is working even Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah,
Okay, I know
I'm
I talked to
asking-
him on Sundays, you know, trying to get something rushed through. And again, you know, they're not charging us overtime. They're just charging us per the hour. As he mentioned, we did go through several firms, including a bunch of them in the area here. It's not just the 2, the 3, the 5, the 10, the 20. We talked to a lot of firms in the city, also outside the city. Nobody was close to this amount. The closest one was $250. So Mr. Miyake was, I mean, he had, I don't know how he got this rate here. Again, we have a lot of items. We really have to get our city on track. Again, I've seen a lot of stuff here in the last year. So you guys talking about $450,000, $500,000 budget. So a little less than $500,000 budget for this. The other budgets that you guys talking about is in the millions of dollars. So any little change that you make, with other, again, I don't want to discuss contracts right now. It could affect the city with millions of dollars in changes. So you're not negotiating. We have five contracts we're working on right now.
But just to be fair,
not just one.
But just to be fair to the law firms, although the pay is on the lower end, they're also going to be getting consistent business. So they'll have, in other words, if I hired them for a project, it might be 5 hours. Yes, they may charge hypothetically $200 an hour or $250 per hour. In this case, it's going to be many, many hours at $150 per hour. So they'll more than make up because they'll have consistent work.
Can we entertain Donald and see if he's okay with that? Just 60 days. Donald, can you entertain us on that?
With the council chair's blessing, certainly. I don't have a philosophical objection. I completely feel what all of you are going through. That's part of why I was smiling is, doing this as long as I've been doing this. You aren't unique in struggling to balance the interests of all of the good people that work for the community. I do think that putting a pause on this, as long as we knew it was going to take effect and we wouldn't have to go through this process again, I don't think I would need to go back to my partners and talk about that. I think they would bless me on that. If they, but obviously I work with partners and I don't get to make decisions for the entire firm on my own. That wouldn't be fair to them. So I think they would bless me on a slight pause. I don't think I can speak for them though if it's going to come back again and we'll go through this process again. I'd like to see it move forward tonight, or otherwise I'd have to go back and talk with them. The other part of that is, I do think the litigation rate needs to be what we've proposed. It is less than what the MMRMA is paying, and it's a big class action lawsuit that we are diving into immediately for Gary and for Seacrest Wardle to make sure it gets done right for you. So I would carve that out if I could.
Okay. Any other councilwoman? Go ahead.
I'd like to ask Donald, for the lesser things like FOIAs and so forth that are very troublesome, and the people don't even know here how many of those we have every month. It's extensive. Is there any way we could take a $5 an hour cut on lesser things? Would your group go along with that, Donald?
And through the council chair, I appreciate that question. We've done that for you already. If you look at the rates that are proposed for the prosecution work that is not at the courthouse, things like answering briefs and motions, preparing for trials, and we were able to come up with a lower rate for you because we do that so much and so often for so many communities. We have a brief bank, we have the work, we have the efficiencies that you wouldn't get with a new firm or newer lawyers who haven't had to do it before. So I think we've already done that for you. I hope that helps assuage your concern a little bit on that one. But that $150 rate would capture all of the prosecutorial work, like jury preparations and trials and motions and discoveries. A lot of the mundane, as Gary might tell you, we will do that for less.
And if I may, Council Chair, one of the things I've noted is the paraprofessional fees. The idea would be also to potentially be able to have a number of more routine services handled at a lower hourly rate by individuals who are not lawyers, which we generally haven't been doing, except in the case of Michigan Tax Tribunal matters. So this is another way in which we're, so to speak, providing the same services but at a lower rate.
Okay. Thank you. So at this particular point, unless anybody else has any discussion items, go ahead, Councilwoman.
I've worked as a legal secretary. I have a degree in criminal justice. And I agree that Gary is speaking the truth. That is excessive. I think we could make a cut there.
So Corporation Counsel, Gary, I think Donald entertained us a little bit by saying that as long as we didn't have to go through this process, he would allow the 60 days. I think that's fair.
But we're going to still have to go through the process because the rates aren't going to change, Councilman. These rates are going to be standing firm.
Well,
am I correct?
Well, I hate to argue against myself, but on the other hand here, I have a duty to you. It says in the motion, these changes and increases are effective March 9, 2022. We could make it May 1, 2022.
There you go. I think that's fair. I think this brings them forward. It allows them to, we don't give the raise until the first 60 days. And then, by then I'm hoping that there's some type of negotiation with the administration, and again, I've spoken with the mayor. I want everybody to know that. I've had this conversation with the mayor. The mayor isn't happy. The mayor's not happy if the union employees are not happy. The mayor has been endorsed through union. I want you to know. And so from the discussions that both me and Mayor Bazzi have had, we're going to find a solution. It's not going to go through arbitration. We're going to come to an agreement. So I want you to know that, and I'm sure, like the council chair said, tensions are high, a lot of emotions, everybody's sharing everybody's frustrations. I want you guys to know that. And I can speak on behalf of Mayor Bill Bazzi, who has said, Mo, I understand everybody's very, very upset, but things could become detrimental. And so I want you to know, everybody is on board with our union employees, especially like the councilman said, you guys are our backbone of this community and of City Hall. I swear we understand that. But I also believe that there's something very important that we need to vote on. I think postponing this not postponing it, but starting the increases instead of March 19th, to start May 1st, like you said.
So ladies and gentlemen, I think we beat this to death. At this particular point, we got to take this to a vote.
Council Chair, I'm going to amend the motion.
Okay, so I just want to make sure you're going to, okay, go ahead.
I'm going to amend the motion. Instead of effective March 9th, it'll be May 1st, 2022.
And the only, I'm sorry, Council Chair, but I just communicated with Mr. Denault. He said except litigation, the 180 for the litigation.
Except for litigation.
That's fine.
That's fair.
That would
Councilman
be effective
Muscat?
immediately.
Could you put in there with the contingency that the union contract is settled by then?
Again, we're
That's two
we're
separate
moving in
things
two
now.
I
different
know, but
directions, sir.
we can put it in there, and that's the main stumbling point here.
We don't have anything to do with contract negotiations.
Well, you know what we do is we manage the money of the city.
I understand, and when that contract comes before us, that's when you get to vote on it.
And Councilman, just to be fair, how do we tell any law firm that's doing work on our behalf, we're not going to give you what we're voting on today until somebody else, it doesn't, look, I'm all in favor of negotiating.
I'm sharing your first, I agree with you.
Yeah, listen, I want it to be negotiated. I want it to be negotiated in a favorable way to all members, including our unions. We're all for our unions, myself included. I want them to be paid well. Let me tell you something. In my team, in business, when you walk into my office, the first thing I introduce to you is administrative staff, and I say, this is the smart people in the operation. This is the brains of the operation. This is the ones that make things work and make them work well. And it's the same thing in our city. I totally agree with that and in favor of them being negotiated in a favorable way. And again, I've been given by the administration that they're going to sit at the table and negotiate with them favorably. But let's not make it conditional. I just don't think it's the right thing to do, in my opinion.
I also like to believe, Councilman, that, this is us voicing our concern, saying, hey, look, we're putting a stop to something without an increase. And until, and giving 60 days before this new law firm even sees exactly what they want. And they negotiated wanting more money. And we're putting to a stop to that today for the next 60 days. I think the mayor, the administration, and believe it or not, our union employees are seeing that today. We are your voices here, but nothing has been brought forward to council. And until it does, we're not in negotiation, like Councilman Muscat said.
With all due respect, the same thing was brought up when this is something I'm going to talk about later, but I'm going to bring it up now. When we voted on the elected officials' compensation.
Correct.
One of the things we said was, okay, we'll vote on it. 'Cause
Correct.
it's a time thing, as long as we get this union thing settled.
Correct.
And this is much has happened.
So I'll explain to you what happened on that particular one. So I was the one that brought that forward at the time because I thought I'm going to try to use that as leverage, try to make sure that everybody's compensated fairly.
Absolutely.
And I'm all for it. But then once we were told by our counselor, Gary Miyake, that the compensation for all parties involved would have to wait another 2 years, then my personal opinion is, I'm just going to use as a sample, as an example, Madam Clerk, so we're not throwing you out under the bus, but just as an example, our clerk, she has nothing to do with these negotiations, so why should we make her wait 2 years based on the body that made a vote and discussed it and negotiated and decided that, based on fairness, that the clerk's pay should be increased? Why should a clerk, or any clerk in any city, not this particular clerk, in any city, why should they wait another 2 years while negotiations are going on? I try to use it as leverage if I could have done it, but it's not fair to make the clerk wait 2 years. With that same story, I want the union's negotiations to move forward. I spoke with the mayor today. I asked the mayor, are we going to get this thing to move forward in a way that's, fair to everybody involved? The city, keep in mind, everybody, we also have a budget, obviously, that we're working within. We could pay everybody $3 zillion, but then the taxes would have to be raised to compensate the $3 zillion. The mayor is on board with sitting down with the union and negotiating this. He is on board, and I'm sure the union representatives are in the same situation. But we just got to get the tensions off, because the more there is tension in negotiations, and I know I've heard they did walk out, they did not walk out, whatever it is, either way there was some tension. Tension is not going to get negotiations to finish. Okay? But let's go ahead and make the final motion, Councilman.
I amend the motion to change the increases effective March 1st, or excuse me,
May
May
1st.
1st, 2022, instead of March 9th, 2022.
With the exception of litigation.
With the exception of litigation.
May I suggest language?
Which would be effective.
Council?
All right, go
Go
for
ahead,
The
Gary.
last sentence would be, these changes and increases are effective May 1, 2022, except the litigation rate is effective March 9, 2022.
So be it.
Okay?
We'll go with
Motion made by Councilman Muscat, seconded by Councilman Baydoun. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
All right. We'll go ahead, Madam Clerk, can you please take roll call?
Dave Abdallah,
Yes.
Hassan Ahmad,
Yes.
Moby Dun,
Yes.
Nancy Breyer,
Yes.
Robert Constant,
Yes.
Ray Muscat,
Yes.
and Tom Wenzel.
No.
And you got
Okay.
6-1. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. 6-1, motion carried.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda, Parks and Recreation Director Lauren Sell, 2022 smart contract. Now, before somebody makes the motion, I had contacted our recreation director and asked her for members of the audience and members of the council to give us just a general 1-2 minute outline in regards to the smart buses, because I had some council members ask me questions about that. And, where would they be at? What do they do? Just a general 2-minute outline, if you don't mind. I'm gonna have you do that, Director, right after the motion is made.
Council Chair.
Right after the motion is made, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council approve the Smart Municipal and Community Credit Contract for year 2022 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to electronically sign the contract. In addition, authorize the clerk's office to work with Director Lauren Sell in submitting the contracts and attachments by email. The city will receive $56,810 in municipal credit monies and $94,134 in community credit monies as outlined in 9E.
Support.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Muscat, seconded by Councilwoman Breyer. Before we go into discussion on that, Director Lawrencell, I know you're on here somewhere.
Yes.
Yep, she's
Yeah,
here.
can you hear me?
Yep, yes, we can. So if
Okay,
you
all
could give us
right.
a
I just wanted to
general
make sure, I
2 minutes, please.
apologize for not being there, but I am at a state conference and I am learning a lot about DNR and grants, which is what we definitely need. So the SMART program is a program in which we get money back from SMART, from the millage funds that are approved by the residents to operate the buses that go to the homes to pick up the seniors, or the line haul buses at the certain bus stops that stop along the Dearborn Heights route. These funds are used only for transportation, and they cannot be used for anything else. We use them currently for 2 senior programs that we run, our small bus program as well as our charter bus program where they go on trips. And then also we use it for youth programming, our youth ski club, and our intergenerational programming where we have seniors bring their grandchildren and all of that kind of stuff. It's been a really successful program. We have to stay within the 4 counties that we have where the SMART district is, including all of the communities that have opted in. And it's just a wonderful thing that we get this money back to be able to have this program. We would not be able to have it otherwise. And it's a great venue for the seniors to use as far as going to see things and do things and to get out of their house and, enhance their quality of life.
Thank you, Director. Much appreciated. So we're going to go ahead and, motion made by Councilman Muscat, seconded by Councilwoman Breyer. Is there any discussion on that? Councilwoman, go ahead.
I'd like to back up on what Kim has said. As a senior, I enjoy the little things we get to do, like fish fries and going to play bingo somewhere, or even going to a concert. It's very necessary, especially for the people who have nothing else. Please consider that.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman. All right, so any other discussion items on that? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is Parks and Recreation Director Lauren Sell, Wayne County Park Millage Allocation for 2021-2022.
Council Chair,
Councilman Ahmad.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council accept the allocation for our Wayne County Park millage funding for years 2021, 2022 in the amount of $44,624 as outlined in 9F.
Support.
Motion made by Councilman Ahmad, supported by Councilman Constant. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is Police Chief Hart, change order for Vance's law enforcement munitions purchase.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council approve the munitions purchase change order for Vance Law Enforcement in the amount of $4,371.80. In addition, authorize the mayor and comptroller to sign the warrants and the treasurer to issue payment as outlined in 9G.
Support.
Motion made by Councilman Muscat, seconded by Councilman Baydoun. Is there any discussion on that? We're going to give at least an opportunity for the chief. Just give us a little abbreviation on this, at least, so this way the audience can have an opportunity to meet the new chief. Chief Hart, thank you.
Thank you, Council Chair and City Council. My name's Jared Hart. I'm your new Chief of Police here. I'm very excited to work with the community and City Council on a lot of great initiatives that we're going to have coming forward here from the Police Department. This particular issue, back on January 25th, City Council approved $13,026.30 for the purchase of some ammunition for us to be able to practice and remain proficient with our weapons. Sadly, from the time the invoice came in, as far as a quote, and to the time we got it in front of council and then went to place the order, we did have an increase in price of $4,371.80. This is one of the sad things that we're all facing in our personal and professional lives right now, that a lot of our items are going up in price right now. Ammunition generally is very hard to come by these days. So sadly, bringing a change request in front of you for a little over $4,000 tonight so we can fulfill that order. I can share with you that I qualified on February 28th, my first day, and I did see personally that our ammunition supplies are very low at this point in our range.
Okay, thank you, Chief, and welcome to the Dearborn Heights team.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief?
Inflation is definitely up right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. So item 9G, all in favor, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item on the agenda, well, Chief, we're going to keep you busy here. Come on back up. Police Chief Hart, 2020 Justice Assistance Grant.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council authorize the mayor to accept and approve the U.S. Department of Justice Grant 2020 Justice Assistant Grant, JAG, in the amount of $13,284 and accept the grant agreement as outlined in 9H.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Muscat, seconded by Councilwoman Breyer. Is there any discussions on that? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item
9I.
I'm sorry, we have 9I. This was the one that was added, and this is the reconsideration of the moving of the voting place from Canfield to Crestwood High School.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I move that the city council reconsider of the moving of the polling place from Canfield to Crestwood as outlined in 9.
Support.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Muscat under 9I, supported by Councilman Baydun. Now, this was for the residents. This was an item that was voted on during the last council meeting, and it is being brought forward again. So any discussion on that?
Council Chair.
All right, let's start with Councilman Wenzel.
Thank you. I'd like to hear what Director Lawrence has to say about this. if it's
All
possible.
right, Director Kim, I know you're still on there, correct? Yep. Can you unmute, please?
There she goes.
Hi, I did try to speak earlier for comments on agenda items. I raised my hand and wasn't called on, so I don't know what happened, but
I did not see
just a couple of things. It's really going to affect the decrease in the program revenue for the department. It's also going to decrease our offering of youth programs in the city. Just so that you know, we just took in a check for a little over $11,000 for one session, and we have 2 to 3 sessions a year. This check also reflects some of the time being during the strict COVID restrictions, which meant lower class numbers because they had to lower them because of the requirements in the room. I believe that the city needs this revenue, considering all of the comments that have been made at tonight's meeting, and it's really important to have this program continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director. Any comments from, who was, let me just make sure. I know Councilman Tom Wenzel was first. Somebody from this side said Council Chair. Who was it? So Councilman Muscat, go ahead.
I got beat up over this by residents in the last week. And they just like their place where they go and vote. And I kind of told them, look, it's right next door, parking lot's empty, plenty. They don't care. They want to vote where they've been voting. And then, you know, the disruption that's going to be caused at the clerk's office in doing this outweighs, I think, a gymnastic class. You know, I said that when we voted on it, but I failed to act on it, and I apologize to whomever. But I think that the residents have spoken, and they want to keep it where it's at. So I got to go with the residents on this.
Council Chair,
Councilman, go ahead.
like I stated in the last one, which I also went back and, you know, I've gotten the phone calls from residents who have said, how did this happen? And, you know, I want you to know, I also don't want to be held hostage over a check or over just gymnastics. I want to see that facility at Canfield be more than just gymnastics. I know Councilman Muscat spoke about it last week, and I mean, it made a lot of sense. We shouldn't be held to strictly gymnastics. And I know Director Lawrence goes above and beyond and does, you know, great things, but maybe the gymnastics program can be moved over to the Richard A. Young Center, or can be moved to a completely different place so that it's never interfering with, with voting. But I want you to know, 60 years of voting in one precinct, and to be able to move it over gymnastics, it wasn't, I mean, it is your highest voting precinct in the entire city of Dearborn Heights. And I think you guys, and I understand what the councilwoman was saying, and, you know, there are places like the Berwyn Center that has 4 voting polls, yet it still does not receive the amount of votes that you're going to get at Canfield. And I think what you're going to do is, and I've had this discussion with you over the week, my mother or my father might drive there and say, it's not here, I'm going home. Those are two votes. Whether it's my mother or somebody else, that's going to affect people. I don't like that, and I understand it's walking distance right next door, but it's been a place for the last 60 years. And with respect to our Councilwoman Breyer, not everybody votes absentee.
I understand that. However, St. John's has the same situation. People froze last November working the election, no heat in the building.
Well, that building's
The
been
church
sold.
has closed. These people have been doing things for 60 and more years, and they're going to be transferred to a place that's further away than Thorne, because Thorne is having construction, and they're going with it because that's what we have to do.
Councilwoman, it's being
The only
sold.
difference on that one is we have no choice.
If it wasn't being
Shut down.
sold, I'd be advocating for that same spot as well.
Absolutely.
But are you wanting to destroy equipment that can't be
No, we're not
replaced
destroying
and money
anything,
that can't come
Councilwoman.
into the city?
I mean, we're making this seem so detrimental that if we use 2 days out of the year, that it's going to be detrimental. And I'm so sorry, but we're over-exaggerating this all. I don't believe that it's that necessarily that serious. I
It's
think it is
not just
absolutely fine,
gymnastics, though.
and we can keep the voting place at Canfield. And I'm going to stand with it. And Council Chair, I'd like to make a vote on this now, please.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure everybody's heard. But I can tell you, on my end, I know if anybody can pull this off, I know our director, Kim, can pull this off. In my personal opinion, not having gymnastics for, a day or two, honestly, I don't think it's the end of the world. And I do know that, and I shouldn't speak on behalf of some of the Board of Education, but I'm sure they'd be open to the idea of maybe having that gymnastics class held at Crestwood on that particular day.
Riverside is open to it, and it said yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, they did. Okay.
Council Chair,
So I'm
that'd
sure
be
it'd
impossible.
I'm sorry?
That'd be impossible, because you'd have to move all the equipment,
They
set
have
it up.
equipment here at Riverside, Councilman.
No, not the exact equipment, it's parallel bars, the balance beam, they don't have that at the high school.
But at the worst case scenario, we'd have to skip 2 days of,
The year.
Of the year, and that's it.
But you're
That's the worst
risking
case
the
scenario.
equipment, and you're hiring people to take it apart, put it together.
But keep in mind,
And
it's
if it's
been done.
damaged, it's gone.
And I respect that, Councilwoman, but keep in mind, it's been done every year. It's not the
Councilman,
first
what do
time
we
we're
do
doing
if we
this.
want to use that facility for something other than gymnastics?
We do already.
So
and
what do we do with the
will.
equipment?
It's moved when necessary within the same spot.
voting is
not
extremely
transported
necessary.
across
No,
town.
but Councilwoman, we've done this every year, so it's not the first time we're doing this. We have done this. We've had them moved. Anyways,
I
if
don't think
there's-
they can get it
Go ahead,
cheaper.
Councilman.
I don't think they can get gymnastic cheaper anywhere for that $50,000 a year.
Okay.
Tell them to go rent
So
it,
if there's
you
no
know.
other new comments, then the last council meetings, I'm going to go ahead and put this to a vote unless somebody has a comment they want to make.
And what's the vote going to be to?
Well, we're going to have, whoever made the motion, we're going to make a new motion now. We're just reconsidering, correct, Corporation Council?
Yes, I thought that there was a motion.
There was a motion, I
There
know,
was a
but I'm just
motion
making sure,
earlier to add it.
I just want to make sure we're doing this properly. Because the
And now we added
councilman's
it to
asking
the
a question.
agenda.
Councilman, I thought that you had made a motion to reconsider the.
I did, to reconsider the movement of the polling place from Canfield to Crestwood.
Right, and I think then the only thing was just to make sure that everyone is clear that if you vote to reconsider it, it would now change it to basically denying the move.
Correct.
So a vote yes keeps it at Canfield, a vote no would keep it as changed to Crestwood.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, Corporation Council.
So yes keeps it at Canfield.
Yep. So let's go ahead and take this to a vote. All in favor, please state aye. Aye.
No.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please take roll call.
Dave Abdallah,
Yes.
Hassan Ahmad,
Yes.
Mo Baidoon,
Yes.
Nancy Breyer,
No.
Robert Constant,
Yes.
Ray Muscat,
Yes.
and Tom Wenzel.
No.
The motion carries to
Okay.
keep it at Crestwood.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 5-2, the motion carries. That's under item 9I. Next item on the agenda, sorry, let me just go to this, 9I. All right, is item 11A. Sure we didn't miss nothing? Nope. Okay, item 11A, this is Corporation Council Miyake, resolution regarding city council approval of process for temporary food uses and licenses at specific locations.
Council Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council adopt the resolution regarding city council approval of the process for temporary food uses and licenses at specific locations as submitted. This resolution includes rescinding Council Motion 22-095 to the extent that it is inconsistent with this resolution as outlined in 11A.
Support.
Motion made by Councilman Constant, supported by Councilman Muscat. Any discussion on this?
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
You know, I like this, but hopefully in the future, that when we do a complete food cart ordinance, or food truck ordinance, that we don't charge the people by the day. I think a one-time fee for a whole year would, you know, you put a burden on the people operating these food trucks to do it by the day, so.
This is,
It's not
you're talking about, this one's
In the
not going to be by the day,
future. No,
yes.
I'm talking about in the future, that's all I'm
Okay.
saying. I
Sure.
like it the way it's written for right now.
Sure. And one of the objectives of this particular temporary ordinance is kind of like just a trial basis, kind of like a soft opening like you would have in any business, for us to try it out, work out the kinks, see what worked, what didn't work, and so this way, when we put together a formal ordinance eventually, it'll be put together in a way where we've worked out all the kinks and all the negatives, and we'll continue with all the positives. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our corporation counselor, Gary Miyake, for putting this thing in such an expedited time. So thank you very much, appreciate it. Any other discussion items on this? All right? Go ahead,
Can we
Councilman.
have Director Lawrence speak up on this? I think she had something to say about it.
Let me find her. There she is. I just asked her to unmute.
Hi, I'm just concerned about the cost for the vendors for the Parks and Recreation events that we have. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we have trouble getting vendors because I allow people to bring their coolers in. And if they have a large fee that they have to recoup at these Parks and Recreation events, then I'm not going to be able to allow coolers in because they're going to need to make a certain amount of money at least to cover what their costs are for all these licenses. So that definitely concerns me because there's very few venues or very few cities that allow people to bring their own coolers in. We do have an Easter event coming up in April. We had a couple vendors set up for that. So this will affect us as well.
Okay.
So
Thank
hopefully
you,
can
Director.
consider-
I personally, at least I'm speaking on my behalf, for the city events, I personally, as one, would have no problem making adjustments on the fees to the vendors for city events, specific city events. Provided Corporation Counselor says we can do that,
Right,
obviously.
and frankly, I would look at a city event where the city is doing it as not necessarily operating in the same way as this. In other words,
So we don't have to charge ourselves.
we could end up adjusting the fee when it came to that event.
Okay.
At the city's discretion, or administration's discretion, or at the counselor's?
It would be the city council's discretion. In other words, the city council sets the rate, and the city council could end up saying, for Spirit Festival, for example, the fee will end up being waived.
Okay.
Because it's a city event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corporation
We have a
Counsel.
lot, we have a lot more than just the Spirit Festival, so maybe we can, make it more a general statement because we've got wonderful concerts in the parks and we had vendors set up for our winter event and we've got it for the spring event. So I mean, I don't know, some exemption would be good if that's possible.
Okay.
Council
So-
Chair.
Director, I think in that particular case, we'll just do them on a case-by-case basis. So whenever you see a particular event that you feel you have a need to, you could bring it to council, and we'll go ahead and vote on it. Somebody was,
Chair.
go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
We can, not today, another day, once we start doing city events, we can amend this one here for city-related events or city-sponsored events
Okay.
until we get an actual.
My first,
So, wait, Director, so maybe we can have a fusion of the two opinions between the mayor's and yours, Director Kim Lawrencell. maybe you and administration can have a conversation about this, come up to an agreement as far as a particular dollar amount that you feel both comfortable with, and then we could amend this particular ordinance and then just approve it by city council.
And Council Chair, if I may, this is a resolution, so all it takes is a vote, just a regular vote. It's not an actual ordinance amendment.
I'm sorry, resolution.
Yeah, right, so this was put together to try to blend two existing ordinances, and I just decided a resolution was a far better way to end up addressing it.
So, Director Lawrencell, if you don't mind, if you could get a hold of administration in the next week or so, have that discussion between you and the mayor, and come up with something that you feel would be workable. Because absolutely, a lot of the events that you're putting on, we as a council body, I can speak on their behalf, are all in favor of it and in favor of making it workable for you.
Okay, I just wanted to remind you that April 9th is our next one.
All right, so as long as we still got time on the next council meeting to vote for that, no problem. So as you get a hold of the mayor's office and have that discussion, please. Councilwoman, go ahead.
I'd like to add that we also have the Juneteenth. One of our commissions puts that together. That was
Correct.
very good last year for our very first one. We also have the firemen with their chili cook-off in July or August, and those should be included in that possible waiving.
They're still city events.
These are all city events.
Yeah, right.
They'll have one across the board for city events, but I just want to make sure we don't negotiate that right here at this table. I think administration should talk with the director and then come up with something that they feel would be workable.
I got
Okay.
a quick question, Council.
Go ahead, Councilman.
And I'm just using an example. I know like Hype Athletics does the diversity event, or Mike Mackey does the Ramadan event. Will each vendor specifically at Hype or at Mike's event, at Elite Sports, at Canfield, will each one have to put forward $500 for a bond, pay the X amount of dollars, 200, go through, get X amount of licensing and go, or would it be just, hey, Hype is hosting this event, Hype will put, I mean, it's their private property, do they still got to put the bond knowing that it's their property?
The way it's written is each is a licensee. So yes, they would have to follow the requirements.
Individually.
That's correct.
Does that make it difficult on, somebody like Hype who wants to put together this? And then does each person also have to, do the background check, which I'm all in support of, by the way?
I'm not sure that it would. They still have to do the background check. They still have to do everything through the county. They would have had to do these things anyways. It is each individual proprietor who basically is coming forward and, we need to check out. So, there might be better ways to end up doing it, but this is what was discussed with the city clerk and with the building department director. Maybe this is one of those things we learn from, like the council chair was saying. But I would want to have their input before potentially tweaking it, because part of it is the process they go through. It's actually, there's some work involved in this for sure.
Right, there is. And I've spoken with our building director, Eric, I don't know if he's on, but I had a conversation with him. Rick, I'm sorry, Rick. We will be having people put in their applications all the way up to the 24th, and then a date has not been set for our council body to approve it. I believe it was either the 29th or the 30th, which I'll be speaking with the clerks to set that exact date. It was on a Wednesday. It's the Wednesday after our council meeting, and I think that's 29th or 30th at 5 p.m. was a discussion I had with Rick today. Provided 5 p.m. works for everybody. What day? I think, was that 29th or 30th?
30th.
30, okay. The 30th at 5 p.m. If it doesn't work for administration, because then we'll have the applications in front of us, and we as a body will vote on them at that particular point. Anybody that puts in an application has to have final approval by the city council. So that's the date we'll be going ahead and voting on it. In terms of what you are concerned about, I do see this concern, Councilman. Maybe keep in mind, any type of resolution can be, it's fluid. So maybe, that's a good point that you bring up, but I don't want to mess this particular resolution today, because then it'll have to go back to administration and start all over again. Maybe hypothetically, whoever it is, no pun intended, but whoever it is, comes back and presents to us as a council and says, hey, I've got 25 trucks here. I don't want to pay X amount of dollars, can we do 5% off, can we, whatever? And then we as a body can make a decision at that particular
So
point.
and I'm just kind of speaking out loud, can we do something where, I don't want to make it hard, especially because I know what's going to happen, it's come with the hype, and I don't mean the mayor went to it after. I remember that morning, me and you went over the hype, they had the flood over, and I think Ali Sayed was in his jumpsuit and he was cleaning it up. But what I don't want to see happen is the guy that has the Ferris wheel come up to City Hall, pay the $500 bond and say, I'm not going to go through jumping all this, I'm not going to come to your event.
Keep in mind, those types of events put on by those organizations and other organizations for that matter are pre-planned 5, 6, 7, 8 months ahead of time. So we'll have plenty of time to be able to make an adjustment if we felt needed as a body.
But I want you to also keep in mind, Councilman, that the event that's going to happen at Canfield, he doesn't have the 7, 8, 9, 10 months in advance. He
Sure.
has 20
Then he
days.
can bring the proposal to administration or the clerks, and we'll go ahead and vote on it at that point. I just don't think we want to negotiate that right now.
I agree. Okay.
Okay?
And thank you for putting this forward, by the way. This is something that I've been asking for many years.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussions on this? All right, we'll go ahead and take it to a vote. This is on item 11A. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is new business, item 13A, business license renewal.
Council Chair,
Councilman Ahmed.
I move that the Dearborn Heights City Council renew the business license for Famous Auto Center located at 25996 Van Born as outlined in 13A.
Support.
Okay, motion made by Councilman Ahmad, supported by Councilman Baidoon. Any discussions on this?
Council Chair?
Councilman
Is
Muscat.
this the old Leprechaun building, the Crazy Leprechaun bar? That's the only way I
No.
can. No? No. What is
No.
this?
This is west of
Further
Telegraph.
west,
Further west?
by Bliss.
Okay,
next to
okay, I just
Bliss.
wanted to know which one
And
it
this is when
was.
it's open already.
Yeah.
It's next to Bliss, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is just a.
Okay, I just want to take this quick 5-second moment to thank a lot of our businesses, because I can tell you, when I started on the council years ago, we'd get different licenses coming in to be approved, and they'd always be behind in the water, behind in this, they haven't paid their taxes, 42, not all of them, obviously, 42 tickets, fights, brawls, whatever. I love the fact that a lot of our businesses, and I commend them on that, of cleaning up, not cleaning up their acts, but just bringing good stuff to our city and having good businesses open in our city where it's so much easier for us as a council to approve their licenses because they're doing great. So keep up the good work. With that being the case, I'd like to go ahead and take that to a vote. A motion made by Councilman Ahmad, seconded by Councilman Baidoon. All in favor, please state aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is from comments from council members.
Council Chair.
There you are.
Yeah.
Councilman Wenzel.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to mention something about our Dearborn Heights families. Once again, I'd like everyone to look into the Liliana's Law. It's a law brought up by the mother of a little girl, Liliana, who was killed in a terrible accident at a school here in Dearborn Heights. You can go onto her Facebook page or lilianaslaw@gmail.com. Also, this is a good time for our families to attend services together during this holy time of year. Excellent chance to do something as a family. And I'd like the mayor to, before the night's over, to speak about the update on the golf course issue. I know he spoke briefly about it, but there's something else I wanted to talk about.
He's going as a resident.
I spoke with a parliamentarian, and I sent her my little thing I want to talk about tonight. She said that everything on here is good to talk about, and there's a few things I'd like to talk about. First of all, I'd like to talk about the raises and the positions added to this year's budget. I feel the positions created are needed to help our city move forward. The raises given to our directors and staff are in line with comparables in nearby communities. They also reflect the increase in the cost of living. The raises have been given out throughout the city, from the mayor's secretary all the way through human resource director and the clerk's office.
Once again, I'm in favor of these added positions and these raises given to those at City Hall. That being said, I feel there is a great injustice taking place in our city. Without getting into name calling or he said, she said, I'm going to report what I feel are facts. And I believe everyone in the city of Dearborn Heights probably received these couple of documents, a couple pages of documents stating concerns about our union employees. With double-digit raises being given to many of our non-union City Hall employees, our hard-working union members are being treated unfairly and with disrespect in the current contract negotiations. With raises in the teens, 20s, and 30% level given to City Hall workers starting this year, city negotiators are offering our union employees who haven't had a contract since June of last year a package which includes no raises at all this year, 0.5% next year, and 0.5% the following year, totaling 1% raise over 3 years. I don't know if I was offered that, I might walk out too. But one person's raise at City Hall for 1 year alone would equal more than all the raises of all 62 union employees for the next 3 years. To equal the pay of the mayor's secretary, and don't get me wrong, I believe she deserves everything she's getting, but to equal the pay of the mayor's secretary, a DPW worker would have to work a full day of overtime, plowing snow, patching potholes, or risking their lives inside a water main break trench. I'm not disputing the raises given to City Hall workers, but come on, let's be fair. Recently, one day after receiving the news of the 1% over 3-year raise offered by the city, Dearborn Heights experienced its biggest snowfall of the year. Even though the union members felt betrayed and disrespected, union DPW workers were out plowing snow for 24 hours straight. When a water main breaks on Christmas Eve, our water department workers have to leave their families to go do the job they were hired to do, making sure our Dearborn Heights residents could happily celebrate the holidays with their families. When a stray vicious dog needs to be captured or a resident has a complaint about a blight issue, it's a union member from our ordinance department who responds to the call. When you need a building permit or certificate of occupancy or any other building-related matter, it's a union member who handles the procedure. It's a union member that maintains the parks and help put on and work at events such as the popular concerts in the park at the Warren Valley Golf Course. It's union members that do the clerical work at our Eaton Center and Berwyn Centers for our senior citizens. We have union members in the comptroller's office, the treasurer's office, water billing clerk's office, DPW office, meter readers, police records, custodian, fire department secretary, building and maintenance, mechanics, and highway divisions of the DPW. These are all frontline workers, the ones that deal with the public on a daily basis. We have some union members that have worked for the city for over 20 years and are making less than $40,000 a year, near the poverty level. Some are on food stamp programs to make ends meet for their family. It's well known that we are having trouble hiring qualified people to fill vacant spots throughout the city. Let's start by keeping the employees we have and treating them humanely and offering them a contract comparable to similar cities. Matching pay to similar cities was one of the main criteria for justifying raises given to salary employees. When union employees say they're working without a contract, they are corrected by the city by saying they do have a contract. They are working under their old contract. Unlike union brothers and sisters in the fire and police departments who get retroactive pay when a new contract is negotiated, these union members do not. They have been losing money every day since last June and will never get it back. Contract talks are currently not an arbitration. That's the wrong term. It's mediation. They're currently in mediation with a third party joining negotiations. Unlike the fire and police who have binding arbitration, any decision made by a third party isn't worth squat. The city is not bound to comply with their decision whatsoever. In negotiations, the city has 3 salary employees whose combined equal pay is over $250,000. Plus, the city has hired a $300 an hour attorney, and he is a labor law attorney. On the union side of the table, they have 2 union members who make $0 extra for attending negotiations, whose pay together is less than $80,000. People that know me know I'm not up here to hear myself talk. I'm 65 years old. I have lived in the city my entire life. I probably lived in this city longer than any other employee in the city of Dearborn Heights. I've been a union construction worker for over 40 years, and I'm damn proud to admit it. I'm asking my fellow council members to stand behind me in recommending, and this is just a recommendation, and I'm not negotiating, a 5% raise this year, a 3% raise next year, and a 2% raise the following year, with a $500 signing bonus for each union member to make up for the lack of a contract for the last 9 months. This 10% raise over the next 3 years will still leave our union members behind of comparable cities, but it's a heck of a lot better than 1% over 3 years. I'm asking my fellow fire and police union members and other union members of the city to contact the administration to encourage them to do the right thing and move forward with my plan. Let's not forget, the main job of the city council is to manage the city's money. I have written a resolution, it's right here. I have written a resolution which I will introduce at the next meeting if contract talks are not finalized in the next 2 weeks. The resolution states that if passed by the City Council, all raises in the budget will be put on hold until the contract is finalized. This would also include raises of elected officials passed by the City Council that were recommended by the Compensation Commission at our January 28th meeting, which includes my own raise. I have signed the resolution. I'm asking 2 other council members to sign it so we can put it on the agenda for next meeting. Yours in solidarity, Councilman, union member, and lifelong resident of the great city of Dearborn Heights, Tom Wenzel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments? Not comments, I'm sorry. Yeah, comments from council members.
Council Chair.
Councilman Constant.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Wenzel. When is our new trash hauler going to start? Is
The 21st.
21st? So like in the south end today, the trash was still picked up by GFL. And then do we have any kind of a timeline on when we're going to be back in the city council chambers, when the city council chambers are going to be ready?
Furniture, the mayor can give better update on that, but I know the furniture is in, and I know most of the construction is done.
Okay, so we're working on technology right now for the connections, the Wi-Fi, so hopefully by the first week of April.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. I want to take this opportunity, just a couple of comments here. First of all, again, I do agree, Councilman Wenzel. I'm all in favor of everybody being fairly compensated. I've said it many times, and will continue to say it, but at the same time, we got to be fair. We're kind of borderline negotiating here in this, so just got to be a little fair. It's not that, you know, I don't want to make this.
I checked on it before.
I'm sorry?
I checked with a parliamentarian on this.
Okay.
I could talk about that.
As long as he's okay with it. Okay, thank you.
She.
Council Chair. Okay, I'm sorry, one quick second. So a couple things I just want to add. First of all, I want to, I don't know if she's still here, but Sheila in the water department, I think she may have, okay.
she's gone.
Just wanted to commend her on a job well done. Her customer service has been above and beyond, and I had a resident today call me and say what great customer service she gave him. So I just wanted to commend her on the job that she did, because customer service is what it's all about, and that's why I agree with Councilman Tom Wenzel. A lot of our union members are the boots on the ground. So, and I know they're giving great customer service because we hear it all the time. So I hope this goes in the right direction. But again, as I've said to the union and to administration, let's pull the tension out and sit down at the kitchen table and negotiate this thing to something favorable to everybody involved. Okay?
Council Chair?
I'm sorry, one quick second. Second thing I want to add is I'd like to thank Captain Joshua Erickson in our fire department for a job well done. This young gentleman put his life on the line when there was a fire, jumped into the mobile home and rescued the lady that had, as I recall from the best of my recollection, she had completely passed out, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Mayor? And was able to pull her out and get her to the hospital, but basically he put his life on the line for one of our residents, and I just wanted to just take this opportunity just to give a round of applause, because absolutely, they deserve them and our police department. These are the men and ladies that keep us all safe. And we always say that, the police department, the fire department, they keep us all safe. But this is firsthand what one of them does. I mean, somebody jumps into a fire. I can tell you, man, they got way more heart than me. And I just commend them for that, them and the police department. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I could, look, let me tell you something. Somebody jumping into a fire to rescue somebody, I mean, I think I would too, but geez.
I figured your heart would be going away being a Lions fan.
Yeah, Lions fan, yeah.
Council Chair.
Okay, Councilwoman Breyer was next. Go ahead.
I'll add to that because she came to the Neighborhood Association meeting on February 24th. She gave the best presentation we've ever had at a meeting, and we didn't have enough people there to hear what she had to say. And if you do need help in the water department, billing or anything.
Oh, you're talking about Sheila, okay. I thought that was the young lady.
Sheila is one of the best employees we have.
Yes, she is.
And at that point, I'll tell you also, our next speaker will be coming from the building department, possibly the director himself or someone else, on March 24th at 7 p.m. That's the South Dearborn Heights Civic Association meeting at 3335 South Beach Daily. I'd like to have more people show up. It's not just for the South End. Anybody that wants to attend is welcome. And our directors take the time out of their schedule, stick around town if they don't live here, and put on a presentation that's deserved to be heard. In that same vein, on March 23rd, you have two options at that same location. We have a commission called the Ecorse Creek Commission. We also talk about the North End and the difficulties with the Rouge. We'd like to see, we had a lot of people show up for that one last month. And we come out with the facts, where we're at, what's going on, and it's for you to know. And I'd like to see more people participate in that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. Any other comments from council members? Councilman Vidun.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank Councilman Tom Wenzel for having the courage and getting up here and speaking from the heart. I know you mean nothing malicious by it, and you just want to be a voice for everybody. And Dearborn Heights, the city of families, is what I'm going to start saying from now on, because you've encouraged us. So I thank you for that. And like Councilman or Council Chair said, and I've also had conversations with the mayor, and I know the mayor is open to having these negotiations, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to reconcile something real soon. I believe that the pressure is there from all of council and the administration. Also, so I'm hoping something moves forward with that. Secondly, that I'd like to speak on is the food truck thing. I really hope that we're going to be able to make this, we're going to be able to accommodate for everybody. I know we said March 31st, Councilman, will we be able to do some type of emergency meeting if we wanted to?
Yes. That's what that is.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is, say somebody comes April 6th.
So at that particular,
Are we not going to be accepting anymore?
So we had it all the way up to, and that's why we're putting a lot of publicity on this, up to March 24th is when they have to turn in their application.
And that is for a temporary license?
Yes.
To be used when?
Whatever they're applying for.
Until the next city council meeting, correct? So let's just say somebody applies.
45 days.
So
for 45 days.
It's 45 days.
From April.
So if they bring it in on March 24th, and then we're having a council meeting specifically regarding this on March the 30th, and we approve whoever it is that brought forward their application, then they're good to go
Okay, okay,
for 45 days.
okay.
And then we will be reconvening on this maybe in 60 days or so when we reassess, the best practices, we'll add them on the ordinance, and the things that didn't go well, we'll make adjustments.
Thank you so much, Councilman. And then my next thing is, I'm so sorry, Councilman, forgive me. I sat down today and I was repeatedly saying it in my head, thinking of Lawrence Street and Cell. So remembering Director Lawrence Cell.
Yeah.
So I had to teach myself how to say the last name. But, I just want to kind of just, extend my appreciation, and I'm hoping that we can accommodate to this. And Director Lawrence Cell, if you need any assistance from me, I'm sure I'm not as handy as Michael Blackburn, but I can tell you that if you need any assistance from me putting some things together, I'm not a professional. I'm just as good as Councilman Abdullah over here when it comes to using, which is, I may have about 5% NP. But I sincerely appreciate you. I hope we can work through this. I really hated to see that Canfield wasn't going to be a place of voting. I thank the two council members that were able to rescind their vote and bring it back to Canfield, and hopefully we can keep it there. I know I also spoke with the clerk's office, and it made everything much easier for her as well, keeping it there, correct? Yes. And thank you to the clerk's office. Thank you to everybody here. God bless you all.
Thank you,
Council Chair.
Councilman Ahmad.
Thank you, sir. I also would like to thank Councilman Wenzel for the valuable information he provided today. I would like also to thank you for your passion, your sincere passion over this issue. I'd like to thank all the union members who are here today, who voiced their opinion. We hear you, we feel with you, and we promise, I think we all promise we're doing anything within our power to move this negotiation forward. Second, I would like to send my heartfelt respect and appreciation to every mother, daughter, sister, wife, and wish them a very happy Women's Day today. Also, I would like to congratulate the ACT Drug-Free Community Coalition. It's a proud project of the LAHC. It's a local nonprofit, stands for Leaders Advancing and Helping Communities. They do a lot of work in our city and our schools on receiving the Dose of Prevention Award at the CACTA Forum in Washington, D.C. They were recognized for its work preventing over and prescription cough syrup. Finally, I'd like to mention that all the assessments from the assessor's office were mailed last week. If you wish to appeal, the March Board of Appeals will be present at March 21st from 12:30 till 9 p.m., March 22nd from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m., and March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and the assessor's phone number is 313-791-3460. Thank you, Council Chair.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
Just, today there was an incident that happened on my way home. The weather's starting to get nice, folks. Kids are out on the street. Child threw the ball out in the street right in front of my car and just ran out in front of it, maybe 5, 6 years old. And thank God nothing happened. Just be aware, kids are now starting to ride their bikes, your little kids. Hopefully that we can make sure that we keep an eye out on them and we don't have a problem. The weather is getting nice, so let's be careful of our young ones being out there. And Councilman Wenzel, I should say, Mr. Wenzel, forever in solidarity.
Amen,
Okay?
brother.
I wear my red shirt on Wednesdays, too.
Thank you, Councilman. With no other comments from the council members, anybody in administration? I did speak with our treasurer, Lisa Hicks Clayton, and she's going to come up here and give us 2-3 minutes update on DivDat and all the positive things that's bringing forward. Go on.
Council Chair, one more real quick.
Go on.
If you don't mind. Don't forget our community council, our community and cultural relations group is having their brunch at American Legion Carl Eastet Post on the 19th, and I hope to see everybody there.
All right, thank you, Council Chair. Good evening, honorable body, and the residents and employees as well, and thank you for coming this evening, as well as those who are joining us via Zoom. Before I start, and thank you, Council Chair, for giving me the opportunity to share this information, I too want to say thank you, Councilman Wenzel. What you spoke so eloquently and shared as treasurer, I agree wholeheartedly. I know firsthand in my office that I would not be able to do the work we do if it wasn't for those employees. And I really appreciate them. I know, Mayor, that we do care about our community, and we want to do what's best for them. And certainly, with everything that's happening around us, they deserve that. They have not had a raise, I believe, in 10 years? Thank you. So even longer. And I know that you will do what's in the best interest for them. Because as you said, and I think I say that, my employees will tell you I say this, they are the backbone, they are the front line. And Madam Clerk probably agrees with her staff. Front line on that window. When those residents come in, you're the ones that they see. You're the ones that talk to them. And as somebody mentioned, I believe it was Councilman Abdullah, customer service. It's all about that. So thank you for sharing. Now, I wanted to share briefly with a little bit of an update with the residents. Council members and the mayor get updates from me monthly about DivDat, which is our new payment platform that was launched about 3 months ago on November 17th. And we're kind of heading at the 3-month mark, and I wanted to share with you where we are and what it looks like as far as growth and the metrics. I think that's really important to measure how this program is doing and how its impact. So we started November 17th. To date, and this is to date, when we got cut off on February 21st, we had over 2,600 transactions, over $1.3 million. That was collected. What I'm excited about is the platform expansion collected by a phone app, by a web-based platform, or a kiosk. So we offered several ways and several options to pay, but flexibility as well. So people didn't have to come to City Hall. They could pay on a Sunday at one of the local, like a Saturn Market, for example, which gave people flexibility in a secure environment. What I wanted to tell you, the first month, November 17th, the number of transactions, because we were just starting, was 6.26, I think. I'll give you exact numbers. Like, I don't know where the 26 comes from, but 6.26 transactions daily, right? The month of December through January, we went to 25.61 transactions daily. The last month, we were at 48.10 transactions daily. That is eightfold. That is amazing, and it's great. And what that means for our customers, our residents, easy access, easy payment, easy options, convenient, fast, and just, you're done, right? Remember, make it easy. So 24% of our transactions were property tax, while 76% were water and sewer payments. So as you can see, we're getting some great traction on a brand new program. It's less than we're going on 3 months, close, 3 months old, and we're already at this point. What I want to tell you about the kiosks, though, the really important part. We have 4 kiosks throughout the city, as I've mentioned before. The one with the most activity is, with 67.7%, is the Saturn Market on Van Born, which is telling us it's doing exactly what we wanted it to do. For folks that live in the south end of the city, they have an option that's right there and convenient for them. And that's exciting news. So we're going to continue to offer this, and we hope to see continual feedback and be generally positively with everything as we continue to grow. And we are meeting with the 20th District Court and Police Department to add their payments options to the platform as well. So we're looking to expand.
Thank you, Treasurer.
Thank you. And one quick note, Councilman Ahmad already said it, but it is National Women's Day, right? International International. And I want to say and extend my appreciation to all of the women, whether you're a mother, an aunt, whether you work as a homemaker or outside the home. Thank you. Thank you for being you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Treasurer.
Councilor Ahmad, you know you got me in trouble now.
Yeah.
Because I don't think my wife knew what today was.
She's out there.
So I
I don't know if she's here or not, but there's a young
She's
lady
here.
there giving you a bad stare down.
Yeah.
I know.
Ray not only
You're in
Cards in
trouble
the
now.
mail.
You know where I live, Councilman.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm not going to get in trouble. Hi, Mom. Hi, honey. Hi, daughters. Hi, administration. Hi, everybody. All right. Next up, Mr. Mayor, do you have anything that you want to announce or no?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay. So next up, is there any announcements from anybody else in the administration? Going once, twice? Nobody? Okay,
I thought there
thank you
was
very
gonna
much.
be an announcement or
I'm sorry?
something about
Oh,
Warren
wait a minute, we
Valley.
do have one.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
the mayor, do you want to, he's asking about Warren Valley. But before you do, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to take this, I skipped something that I want to recognize. Officer Brock Bacher or Botcher? Botcher.
Botcher.
I want to recognize this young gentleman because I ran into him at a function in Dearborn Heights, and I was under the impression he was there either, I don't know, to investigate something, give a ticket. I'm not sure what he's there for, but figured to just have a nice conversation with the young gentleman. So I started talking with him, and then I found out the only reason he was there was just to be supportive of the community and the residents, to have conversations. I mean, I seen him talking to people, but I didn't know what he's there for. I didn't know what he's doing. And he was just there just to basically do good community service, good connections with the residents, and just talk to them and just show them that us police officers, not us, the police officers, are not just there during bad times, they're also during the good times. So I just wanted to commend them on that. That was good work. I love that type of stuff when our police department is involved with the community, not just there when there's tickets, not just there when there's something negative going on, but also to be positive. And I also want to commend, I know the mayor had a video with the new police chief, and they mentioned, I'm going to put you guys on the spot here, you guys mentioned that you'll be doing some bike riding through the neighborhoods and maybe through some of the major thoroughfares. I love that type of stuff because you're creating community involvement, and the kids, the seniors, and every resident is seeing you guys out there in person, not just during quote-unquote negative times. So thank you very much. But I want to make sure recognize Officer Brock for being there. And I was able to negotiate for him a good dinner that night, so he was able to get a dinner out of it. So
Rumor has it
well
you're going to be
deserved.
on a bike as well.
Yeah, I can bike with the best of them, no problem. All right, Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I had 2 encounters with Officer Botcher in the last few months, and I saw one incident. He diffused a really, could have been a very bad situation with a few teenagers. So he did an amazing job how he diffused it. Like I said, it could have been a huge problem at a public event. And also, just a few months back, they had an event at St. Linus, and he also handled another situation with somebody who was drunkenly disorderly. That he handled that one very well. So he's an amazing officer. Known him for a while. You know, his dad was also a police officer in the city of Dearborn Heights.
I think his grandpa too,
He's got a lot
right?
of family members.
And his grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah, three generations.
Yeah.
That, I mean, he's got enough experience, of course, to be given to him.
Yes.
Oh, condolences.
Jason.
Yeah, I mean, for any family to have 3 generations of police officers in our Dearborn Heights Police Department, I can tell you,
Yeah. He's,
hey,
So he is amazing, good people skills, and as you mentioned, we're talking to the chief. He does want to get community policing, get more officers on the road, interacting with residents, and he's got a lot of great things. We'll announce them at later date, but he's working on trying to get more officers on the road.
Good.
Also, getting more police officers hired as well. So we're looking at that as well. We have a few applicants.
can you give us, Mr. Mayor, update on Warren Valley, please?
So with Warren Valley, as you guys, at your request, we did extend the bid net, for another week, which is this week. And we have the bids due tomorrow. And hopefully, we'll have them by the end of, it should be by the close of business tomorrow. We'll have the bids open the day after. And then from there, we'll do tabulation. And hoping with the help of Mr. Miyake, Mr. Deeb, our city engineer, myself and chief of staff we'll go through the bids, do the tabulation, and we have to call for a special meeting so the council can approve, whoever's the highest bidder. So we do have 3 proposals. The first proposal is to just do the golf course by itself. The second proposal is the banquet. And the third proposal is both the golf course and the banquet. And as of right now, I think there was only one bid that came in today, but according to our comptroller's office, they usually have more bids come in. Obviously a lot of bids will come in at the last minute. And I did talk to a couple entities today that they reached out, and they were asking me how many people actually put in. I said, well, I'm not really sure. And they said they don't want to put in a bid till the last minute because they don't want other people to look at their bids. So I said that doesn't happen because it's closed bids and we open all of them at the same time. But they're still not comfortable with sending them in till the last second, basically. So tomorrow, I'll give the council an update, hopefully by the end of tomorrow, how many bids we have in. And by the next day, I can give you a summary. Then hopefully Friday, we would need to schedule a special meeting to approve somebody. And I want to make sure that I let the residents know that there's a lot of silly rumors floating around, and I've heard all kinds of rumors about the golf course, that it's shut down for the whole year. It's not true. As long as the council approves, I know we're going to have at least 2-3 bidders that they reached out. They told me they're going to put a bid. As long as we get a good bid for the golf course and the banquet, hopefully the council approves it. We need, I'm talking about a month and a half or so, for people to come in and get things in order, for them to open it up. So we're targeting, if the council approves somebody within the next week, month and a half, so hopefully by, early May, that we will have somebody at least doing like a soft opening, so we're not delaying any leagues or any golfers, and then maybe open one of the kitchens. So that's one of the things that I'm talking to with some of the concessionaires or the bidders, that if you come in, open at least one kitchen, either upstairs or downstairs, to get the banquet open, and before they start going their major modifications. So again, hopefully we'll have something in, a good bidders within the next day or so, and the council will find out for sure by Friday what kind of bidders came in and what it sounds like. So then hopefully by maybe next Tuesday, call in for a special meeting for approval.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Chair.
And I do want to say that in many conversations with the mayor, this is a top priority for the mayor, and top priority to get the golf course up and running and do what's best for the city. So thank you, Mayor.
Just had a quick question about the bidding system. I know it's a closed bid, but is anybody able to view the bids right now? Or you only open them, do you have the ability to view right now, or?
No, they submit the bid, they bring the bids, they're closed, and we sit together, we open them all together.
So does the system allow you to view ahead of time? I'm just.
No, I don't think so, not the way
I just
it's
want
set
everybody
up,
to hear
no.
that,
No.
because you mentioned some people, they're not comfortable bidding before, but I want everybody to hear that you're not able, or nobody is able to view those bids
No.
until that day.
No, we've done that even with the garbage company, and there's several others that, I was involved with. We actually had Matt from the comptroller's office, they bring him whatever amount of bids that come in a stack, and they just open them right there with everybody's present. With the garbage company, actually, we had the companies present where we open the bids, and they see who's doing what. So there's nothing behind closed doors. Everything's open. So if you have like 4 bidders, the 4 bidders will be present when they open the packets.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
each packet, so each person that actually, that review, say, A company comes in, so B, C, D company will be there, so they're taking notes. Okay, they'll go through item 1, what the bid is, what item 2, item 3, depending on what the proposal is. So each person is aware, and they'll find out exactly what the other company bid. So that way everybody knows that it was transparent, and nobody, can think like, oh, you guys favor this company over this company.
The only thing I'd ask, Mr. Mayor, is we do this in the same process as we did in the past, where whoever the final bidders are, or whoever the bidders are, there are going to be options for us as a council body, that they come and present to us. We meet them, present to us, give us a little bit about their history, what their vision is for the place, because I speak for myself, and I'm sure other council members probably feel the same way. If I'm going to vote on somebody, I don't only want to look at their paperwork, which is great, and I know that's something that you guys do, including our attorney, but I want to old school one-on-one meet the person, just see if this is somebody I feel comfortable with moving forward, if they have the right vision for that golf course. So please make sure whoever is bidding, that I, for one at least, speak for myself, would like to meet the person at that council meeting.
No, I agree. However, if you have 10 bidders, you want all 10 bidders to come in?
No, I think,
or
the ones we're
maybe
moving
the
forward
top-
with. The ones we're moving forward with.
Oh, okay, the ones we're moving, okay, I do agree. We'll make sure that they're here. But if you have 10 bidders, you don't want 10 bidders to
Well,
come in.
I agree, but what I think, and I'm so sorry to cut you off, if we can have the top 3,
Yeah.
like we initially requested, and then council can make that decision from there.
I'm sorry?
Well, the top 3 doesn't necessarily mean the 3 cheapest.
No, but I mean, the mayor could bring his
How
top.
can you
So-
tell what the top 3 are?
So one of the things, I know Mr. Miyake, he put in a good proposal for people to bid on. For people to put, obviously, there's the 3 criterias, to put in the most money, to a rental for the property, also concession, to pay a certain percentage with the sales, and also on top of it, the capital investment. So you don't want somebody to come in and say, hey, I'm going to pay you $10,000 for both facilities and put 0 down on making any modifications to, say, the banquet. The banquet needs a roof really bad. So the city doesn't want to pay $500,000 for a roof. So if a company comes in and say, hey, I'm going to put in, like, say, $1 million in the facility, versus somebody who's going to put in, nothing. So I'm not going to bring you somebody to say, hey, I'm not putting any capital investment in the property. So I'm going to look at the ones who are putting in the most investment in a property, plus paying the highest rent and also the concession fee. And that's what we should have done, with the previous operator.
Okay. Councilman Constant, then Councilwoman Nancy Breyer.
Yeah, just briefly and quickly, I would think that, so we get the bids, and then the administration says, okay, we're going to pick ABC company. Then before we vote, we get a presentation from ABC company. Because if we bring in everybody else, they'll say, well, that happened with the garbage contract. Wait, we can change this, or the bidding process, the bids are sealed, and then whoever the administration accepts. And then I suppose if we said, no, we don't like ABC company, then we might have presentations from
But
others.
it could be 2 companies.
Well,
Yeah, whatever the
so-
administration recommends.
Okay, again, so we have 3 proposals. So if, for example, if you have somebody that bid X amount on the golf course, to operate the golf course, and another company wants the banquet, if then another company wants to do both. So if the one company that does both, if it's less than the other 2, then yeah, we'll bring the other 2, because it's the other 2 will be greater, because they're going to pay more capital for both the banquet or the golf course. So that's why Mr. Miyake and I, we discussed this. We wanted to actually give everybody a chance to either put a proposal on the whole entire packet, with both the golf course or the banquet, or, to operate either, the golf course. So right now we have a bid to operate the golf course only. So if tomorrow, like say tomorrow we get another proposal, and it's going to be a high proposal for the banquet, then, if it's greater than one operating both, then yeah, I'll present both of those operators for both, the golf course and also the banquet.
Right, I'm just saying, I think whoever the administration then recommends to us after the mayor, Ali D, everyone looks at it, then that company would come, or companies, if it's more than one, come to us.
Yes.
So we did walk through it twice, both weeks. You know, we had people actually, they come in, I mean, they went on roof, they went thorough. They did a thorough inspection on the whole entire facility. So whoever bid on that, both, either one, they're already been through both facilities, and they know the status and the condition of both the course and also the banquet.
The building.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
My final question is, could the council be present at the opening of the bids?
I mean, you guys are free to come in anytime.
So
I
you'll
mean,
tell us when it is?
well, it's going to be probably Thursday evening
Okay.
or Friday. Well, Friday, I mean, we're closed on Friday, but I mean, we'll be
Right.
there, but we're not going to open it when
Are we going
nobody's
to do
there.
this at City Hall?
Yes.
All right.
So maybe we'll see if we can, it depends on how many proposals we get in. If we get them all by 5 o'clock, then I can just call everyone and say, hey, if you guys want to come in, but I have to also make sure that the companies who made the bid are willing to come in.
Right. And
If
we could
not, then we'll
possibly-
schedule something for Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Council Chair?
Thank you, Mayor.
I just don't-
Councilman
I'm
Tom
so sorry to
Wenzel.
cut you off. Just, I don't want to see us coming in though, like the mayor said, and seeing 10 bidders and us listening to all 10 people speaking.
No. It would only, I mean, Mayor, my personal preference, I'm not sure if it's yours, you know, the better choices. There's, look, with anything anybody decides on, there'll be one or two that you'd say, there's just no way. They're complete. We don't need to have a presentation from them. But the ones that are options or possibilities we're even considering, I'm sure, you know, you want other eyes on this, you know, 7 or 14 eyes on this, to help administration in making that decision too. I know we're going to vote on it ultimately, but we want your input, and then we'll give you ours to make sure we pick the right person that's in the best interest of the residents. Yes, thank you. Councilman Tom Wenzel, go ahead.
Thank you. I spoke with the mayor this afternoon about if someone calls right now, because I've gotten a couple emails about weddings in 2023 and graduation parties this year. And I think it'd be a good idea, not just to tell the people, you know, we're not open right now, get back with us. I think the call should be routed to a specific person and be proactive and take all the contact information down. And then so we can get back with them instead of them having to get back with us. Is that something that you're doing right now, or is that something we could do?
Well, we are, okay, so I want to be clear here. So we are taking calls. Whoever calls us, we take notes, and it's not our responsibility to say, you know, to book any events, because whoever bid on the property, they will actually be the ones that, if somebody says, hey, you know, I want to book this event, you know, May 1st, and the concessionaire comes in and they're not done by May 1st, then, you know, we're liable as a city. So we have to make sure, you know, we do take names, you know, we do have a lot of names that we already took note of, and when the concessionaire comes in, you know, once you guys make the final approval for that person or that company, then, you know, we'll hand off the names.
Okay, good. Yeah.
For all the ones that were interested. But I want to be clear that the city does not have any money or any deposit from anybody as of right now. So the person who operated the course before us clearly stated in front of myself and the attorney that they did not take any deposit. So whoever comes in and said, hey, I paid deposit for this date, the city's not responsible for that. They have to go back to the company that they paid the deposit to if they did. Because then you're going to have a bunch of people coming into the city, say, hey, you know, I paid X amount for this date. As of right now, you know, we sat with the attorneys, their attorney, and they stated in front of us, with the attorneys present, that there was $0 paid and deposit for any course, any league, any banquet reservation. So I just want to make sure you guys know as council, if anybody calls you and says that, they have to go to that company that was operating in the past.
I have a deposit down.
Okay, go after that
I
person,
do.
because I'm not going to reimburse
I know,
anybody.
but I'm
for it.
saying, it's a fact that I have a deposit down.
Okay, well, you need to reach out to that
I
person.
will, yeah.
Because the city is not responsible for
Yeah,
paying deposits back.
Yeah, I actually, somebody called me and said, a young lady on Facebook told me her husband does a golf outing, and she said, what's gonna happen to this golf outing? And I just said, whomever you signed up with, and whether it be ABC Golfing, you need to call ABC Golfing. The city is not reliable or responsible for this. The city contracted this out. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And so you have to go back to ABC Golfing and request for either A, your compensation, and if you want to hold anybody responsible, it's ABC Golfing. It's not the city of Dearborn Heights.
We sat with them, we had a lengthy meeting with that company, and we asked them that question several times, did anybody pay any deposit? Because obviously the golf course and the banquet is the property of the city. We wanted to make sure there's no liability on the city. And with the two attorneys present, they said there was no money exchanged, no deposits.
If I may.
Yeah.
Yeah, he specifically said that because of COVID, he was avoiding taking any deposits in case there were last-minute issues in terms of this stuff. So we made it very clear that if there's any event that has been worked out or arranged, that event has to be taken care of through his company. And if it's supposed to be taking place at the Warren Valley Golf Course, it won't be able to take place at the Warren Valley Golf Course because we're going to start fresh. And that's not to say a new concessionaire wouldn't be able to do it. I should correct myself. It's just to say that the city can't guarantee it.
Real quickly, Mayor, in the bids, is there any mention of having plans to open up the banquet facilities as like a full-time restaurant?
Well, I mean, when we met with several companies, when they came in, when they did the walkthrough, we told them that we wanted to see if we can open it 7 days a week. And one of the things that I mentioned also, from the residents voiced their concern about several things. One of them is the sign and the lighting at the sign. The sign alone can cost you $40,000, $50,000. And we did stress that they need to get a better signage on Warren to promote the golf course and also the banquet. And a couple of the people that showed up, they actually said that's one of the things that they're going to do is put in a sign and try to open up more days and to see if they can open up, the restaurant. One of them said they want to open a restaurant downstairs, obviously the banquet upstairs, but keep a restaurant downstairs like a sports bar, for games. People can come in, watch the games on, Sundays, whatever. So that's one of the things, we actually stress from the residents' concerns and also some of the golfers. I've been taking a lot of notes, and I did mention that to the people that came in to bid on the course, that this is some of the residents' concerns.
Is there any issue with the liquor license?
The liquor license is basically a license that's situated at the golf course. It's a special type of license under the statute that is a golf course license, unlike a lot of licenses. And so the city is the owner of the golf course, is in a position where it has control over the liquor license. Even though the former company is still on it, they will have to leave or be off of it as soon as we tell them, and then we'll have to go through a process of transferring what would be their interest. They don't own it, we own it, we own the property. They would have to end up transferring it over. Meanwhile, normally you can end up having management agreements in the meantime while that's taking place, and we should be able to continue. And it's my understanding that the former manager has turned over the information with respect to the license and the inventory all over to the city, specifically the chief of staff or the Parks and Recreation Director. I'm not sure exactly how that's been handled.
So you don't see any hiccup in the changeover?
I see that there will be work that needs to be done with regard to the changeover. This was unanticipated. This is certainly not easy, but I think the administration has done a really good job dealing with a very difficult situation very quickly.
In your opinion, do you think it could be done by May?
What would be done by me?
The liquor license situation?
I think we should be able to do something in the interim before. Remember what the Liquor Control Commission moves at its own pace. But a lot of times you can have these management agreements and things that can end up being put in place, and we will make sure that we're working with that. Part of the process here is to be a bit more flexible. The RFP package is a little broader and a little looser than I would normally end up putting together, because we're looking for the people who make the proposals to give us ideas that we aren't necessarily aware of, to make it actually a better proposal. So there's a certain level of saying, hey, if they come up with something that's really creative, like what we ended up having with the Canfield Arena, we want to be all ears in terms of that. And that's why the mayor gave me the direction to do this, so that we could end up having the three different approaches. Not just, you have to do both the banquet and the golf course. Let's break it out so that if someone has great expertise in one area but doesn't in the other area, we can get the best person or the best firm to give us the service as a concessionaire for each of those things.
Okay, thank you, Corporation Counsel. At this particular point, because it's starting to turn into a study session on this, so let's move on to the next section. So next up is Madam
Council
Clerk, go
Chair,
ahead.
I do have two department heads on Zoom, but I don't know
Oh, yes,
if this is
absolutely.
the appropriate time for.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I have.
Who's up next?
Director Dishru. I'm gonna
Okay,
ask him to
Director,
unmute.
our Ordinance Department, go ahead.
There he goes.
Good evening, Council Chair. Can you hear me?
Good evening.
Yes.
I'm just trying to do my reminder and update that I tried to do on the last meeting. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Just a quick reminder, please keep your trash and recycle bins. Do not put them in the street. Return them back to your backyard immediately after trash pickup. It's one of our continued complaints that we get. The Ordinance Department continues to work hard despite being short-staffed. In January, we issued 78 tickets. In February, we issued 104. With the weather breaking, we're doing court-order cleanups now. We did one last week in the Tiffin district, so please try to remember to keep your property clean. We do have new property maintenance and ordinance brochures now. I have a little bit of a technical issue with my camera, so I can't show you. I apologize for that. Those are available at the City Hall at the counter and in the vestibule of City Hall. I'm trying to get some of those out into the other city buildings so other people have access to them. You will be seeing a variation of the new brochure in the latest edition of Dearborn Heights Today, coming to a mailbox near you very soon. I'd like to thank Bob Ancraft for facilitating the new brochures. They look awesome, if anybody's seen them or not. I'm also working with the mayor's office to get a sweep plan in place to commence hopefully in late May. Details to follow. Thank you to the mayor for his continued support, as well as Mariana and Lee Gavin to keep the focus on fighting blight in the city. I'd also like to thank the police department real briefly, and also the fire department. Every time I need assistance, they're there. We had them out last week in the Tiffin district for our court order cleanup. They came several times to assist us. I appreciate that. And I think that's it for now.
Okay, thank you, Ordinance Director. Next up
Thank
is
you.
our Chief of Staff, or the Administration's Chief of Staff, Mariana Hernandez. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to help answer one of the questions with regards to the RFP for the Warren Valley Golf Course. So the bids went out on March 18th, and in our bid package specifications, it does very clearly state that the opening of the quotes is going to be tomorrow at 3 p.m. It always happens immediately after the deadline because we don't want anyone saying that someone brought it in the day after or whatever. So Matthew from the controller's office typically gathers in the conference room, in the table outside of HR. It is open to the public. Anyone can show up and and open the packages with us. We then tabulate them immediately, and then the administration reviews for processing and presentation to the council. So for those of you that do want to join, it is tomorrow at 3 p.m. In addition, I just had a quick update from our Community and Economic Development Department Director, Mr. Hassan Jamal. He does want to remind everybody that anyone that has been affected by COVID can apply for assistance through the department in order to pay for their electrical bills through DTE, their mortgage bills, or their rent. So if anybody has any questions, please call 313-791-3500. And as well, you can reach at any of our departments and we can forward that information as well to any residents in need.
Thank you, Mariana. Much appreciated. Anybody else on Zoom, Madam Clerk? Okay, thank you very much. So at this particular point, we're going to go to public comments. You will have 3 minutes. I know Ron here is asked for, we'll be giving him 4 minutes. And I know somebody else through the clerk's office, that, yep, you'll have a couple extra minutes also. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. Come on up.
She's tired.
Sorry, I wasn't admin, so I was like.
No. Absolutely, we gotta hear from you.
All right, so we had our first, I'm speaking on behalf of the Community and Cultural Relations Commission for the City of Dearborn Heights. So we had our first in-person hybrid meeting last Thursday at the Caroline Kennedy Library. We wanted to thank them for allowing us to have the meetings there. They were a gracious host. The next one is going to be April 7th at 7 p.m. at the same place, the Caroline Kennedy Library. Councilman Muscat stole my thunder a little bit, but we are honoring Women's History Month by holding a Women's Leadership and Community Service Award luncheon on March 19th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It will be at the Stitt Post. The tickets for the event are being sold on Eventbrite. And the address is 23850 Military Road in Dearborn Heights, 48127. For the month of April, we are looking for volunteers to help plan Arab American Heritage Month and autism awareness initiatives. Also, shout out to our fellow commissioner, Councilman Beydoun, for keeping important issues at a forefront, like the traffic light article we just seen recently. That is it from the Culture Commission.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other announcements?
There's somebody on Zoom. Oh, wait a minute.
So, is this an announcement or a public comment? Okay, I'm going to definitely allow that. Let me just make sure who on Zoom is. Who's on Zoom?
Ms. Sand.
It's a resident.
Yeah, it's a
So it's
resident.
public comment, right?
She told me she was going to speak.
Okay. It's a resident?
It is a resident.
Okay, so let's start with public comments here in the auditorium. So whoever's next, come on up. Please state your name, city, and street. You will have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Tara Brush, Goodith Road, Woodhaven, Michigan, longtime employee for the city, started in the police department, and I've been just about everywhere else too. My concern is coming with, there is a water meter change out coming, okay? It has been brought to my attention by more than one person that the communication between department heads and the city engineer is lacking in a great deal. The prime example is the roofers showed up to the city and no one was there. Why was no one there? Because the supervisor of the building maintenance department was never informed. So you might want to increase that communication between that person, because he's also in charge of this meter change out. When you do this meter change out, you're going to affect water billing and water meter readers who also do repairs. You're going to directly affect all of us, not to mention the revenue for the city. So let's make sure that we keep this one in a cohesive manner so that we don't destroy the revenue production that's going to come. And everything else I have to say, Mr. Wenzel covered for me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time tonight. So my name's Leslie Winless. My address is on Annapolis Street in Dearborn Heights, Michigan, and I'm the president of a union affiliated with TPOAM. The decisions we make every day should reflect the values and beliefs, our values and beliefs, because when we use our values to make decisions, we make a deliberate choice to focus on what's important to us. No matter how confident or brave you are, no employee wants to come speak to their boss's boss in public. They are coming here as a Hail Mary. Whatever the administration has to say doesn't trump the employee's firsthand experiences. Where there is smoke, there is fire, and this just doesn't make sense. So maybe a third party who has the decision ability that is legally binding needs to be brought to assist with contract negotiations. The culture of "it's just business" at the expense of your employees is unacceptable. After working for the last 2 years through a pandemic for poverty wages, when people could have been at home getting $100 a week, $1,000 a week in unemployment, there should be no question about their loyalty or their worth. If you can't offer a living wage, or at the bare minimum keep up with the annual increase of the cost of living, then we need to be reevaluating our priorities. No one wants to hear "we're all in this together. I consider you my teammates. We value you." Those words mean nothing if the people they are spoken to don't believe them. If you say you value these employees but they don't feel valued, then there is a severe disconnect. It is not on TPOAM to fix this divide between what employees feel and the words they hear from this administration. Actions speak 1,000 times louder than words. And after approving raises for everyone, including yourselves, I don't know how or why anyone would think support staff feel like valued employees. How or why would you think that they feel empowered, like everyone else who has received an earned raise? Do you think they feel empowered? Where did the money come from for all the impromptu positions added to the budget? The grant writer, the temporary police commissioner, the new police chief. Are we in a financial crisis or not? Or are we now in a crisis after all of these new positions and raises for higher-ups? Giving rationales to approve raises while simultaneously stalling other raises is a perfect example of how you gaslight people when they bring legitimate issues to this body. I'll close by saying when employee morale is low, it also impacts city operation, thus services to the residents. Best practices would be for those at the top to hold off on increases until those who are not making a living wage receive their contract. Receiving more money because you deserve it is completely different than receiving more money because you need it to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Anybody else from the audience have public comments? Come on up. Ladies first, always. At least that's the way I'll handle it.
Especially on Women's Day.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
If you don't mind stepping up to the microphone a little bit, thank you.
Hello, I'm Jody Palmer. Address 1344 Somerset, Grosse Pointe Park. But I am here for my mom. With the ordinance, we have an RV, and apparently after 2 years, it's now become a problem. And I went round and round with the guy in the
Ordinance?
city. Yeah, the city ordinance. I went to go ask him what I need to do. He told me it was pretty much useless to even bring it as an issue, but I feel with the times, and my mom's retired, so they want her to find a storage facility for it, even though it's her property. Everything about it is within the reasons of the ordinance, except for it's not 18 feet. I mean, how many recreational vehicles?
How large is it?
Huh?
How large is it?
I want to say it's 30.
30 foot?
Yeah. But it's within the 6 feet from her residence, and it's within the 8 feet from the neighbor's house. It's on her driveway.
It's on concrete.
You know, it's, I don't know. I feel like it's, people pay for property taxes. They should be able to store their personal vehicles or recreational vehicles on their property. And when I talked to the guy from ordinance, he said it's been like this since he gave me the paper, he thinks 99. It's not been brought back up, or he said people have tried, but the same people who voted it are still here and haven't reconsidered it. Especially with the pandemic and inflation, it should be reconsidered, I feel, and I wonder on a way of how we can go about looking into it, at least, for people who do own them, and, you know.
Okay. So I will at least preliminarily answer you, and then I'll have
Okay.
Councilwoman Breyer. So on that, it'd be obviously, anybody in the ordinance department, all they're doing is just enforcing the ordinances that are on the books. So they really have honestly nothing to do with it.
No, I understand that with him.
So any ordinance that's currently on the books, if a particular council member, for whatever reason, feels that they want it changed, or they want to revise it, or they want to add, subtract, whatever it happens to be, they'd have to bring it in front of the council body, and then obviously we'd vote on it at that particular point. So that's how that change would possibly come about. But did you have something else to add, or?
Yeah, like, because I didn't know what I needed to do about going about it. You know, because he gave me 100 different reasons, you know, not 100, but 3, that weren't even comparable to the fact of, you know, why somebody would work their whole life to own a house, property, and not be able to store things they want on it because of a handful of people. You know, I understand if it was blight and it was decrepit, or I understand things. We went back and forth, by all means. Me and the guy went back, and, you know, rules are rules, but it's like if nobody's come forth to even try to allow somebody to have one recreational vehicle that they purchased at their home, you know, that seems like it should be brought, especially in the times that we are living in now.
Sure, no problem, I appreciate that, but just so that you know, the general process is, you'd have to start with one particular council member, whoever it happens to be, and if they agree to make a revision on that ordinance, then they would make that revision, bring that ordinance forward to the council body, and the council body would have to vote on it. Councilwoman,
I'd like to
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go with Councilwoman, and then we'll go with you,
All
Gary.
right.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I'd like to verify where the home is, or the mobile home is, well, not mobile home, the RV is located.
On the driveway.
Yeah, what's
street?
part of the city, what street?
Oh, Heather Lane.
Okay, it's on concrete, then you said driveway.
It is, yeah. Everything was in compliance when we purchased it 2 years ago. And the only thing is, like, now we got the booklet, and when we looked it up, it said nothing about, not in the quick part, that it had to be 18 feet. And I asked him, I'm like, is that something new? He said, no, it's from 99, I'm assuming. But it wasn't easily found, because 2 years ago when we purchased it, it didn't say anything about 18 feet. It just said it had to be within 6 feet of the house. We couldn't live in it. There couldn't be electric to it.
Right.
It had to be 8 feet within the neighbor's house. So it was in all of those compliances, and then now 2 years later, it's now, you know.
Is the vehicle licensed as well?
It is licensed.
Well, it sounds like she's meeting most of the criteria.
And-
Gary?
I'm not sure the specific basis for the ordinance officer to end up issuing the ticket. However, I can tell you that these ordinances, the first jury trial that I ever prosecuted for the city of Dearborn Heights in like 1988, 1989, was back then, when it was a misdemeanor, specifically about this type of an issue. And some neighbors find it a very big problem. They consider them an eyesore. They consider them to be something that obstructs the ability of people to see. And I think that whatever, it's not been the same it hasn't been changed in 2 years. It's been very much like this in terms of a regulation for, frankly, decades. So
I understand that. I'm saying that with the times and inflation, your city members, your workers, everybody's going through hard times, and how you wouldn't even think about reconsidering that somebody who does pay taxes would be able to purchase, a recreational vehicle and be able to place it on their own property that they pay for. And you're like, for decades, yes, times are changing. So why would it not be even brought up, at a council member or, in the city?
Well, it's up to the council to end up addressing the issue, as the council chair said. And the other thing is, the reason for my comment was just to say, this has been an issue, and that there are many people who have a great deal of problems with what you're saying, particularly when these regulations have been in place for decades, and the issue has probably just come to someone's attention in the ordinance enforcement department. So.
Okay. Ma'am, out of fairness, I've gone way past the 3 minutes for you. Not way past, but give me past. If you have an issue, like obviously you're stating you just have to contact, you have the clerk's office has the emails, contact, phone numbers, everything else for any council members. You have to contact a council member. And once you and the council member are in agreement, then they can bring a possible change forward, and then as a body, we'd have to vote on it.
Okay, yeah, because
That's
I
the
wouldn't have
process.
sat through 4 hours if I didn't think,
Sure.
I went to the ordinance people and they said, most likely because of the people who've been here have been here and they voted on it decades ago, that they wouldn't change it.
I don't think anybody from council has
nobody's
been
here
here since
for decades on
1999.
this board.
I was 9 years old in 1999.
Well, obviously not you, but most of them.
I don't think anybody on here has ever been, maybe Bob, but he's probably not.
None of us.
Okay.
But-
Is this house
Literally,
on the
none of us.
corner?
Bob has a
Are you
question.
right on the corner of Brookside and Heather Lane, or your mother?
No, my mom lives right next to where you used to live.
So, but is she on the corner?
No.
She said next door.
Okay, Bob, just out of fairness, let's not give total
Yes.
exposure to her mom, have people give her a hard time, so
Okay.
let's keep the address away. Thank you, ma'am. You contact the clerk's office, they will give you or you can go on the website and they'll give you all the contact, phone numbers, emails, et cetera.
Okay, so what do I do about this? Because the guy told me, he's like, you can move it for 5 days and then bring it back for 2 days. And I'm like, I'm not trying to play that game. You know what I'm saying?
Technically, per the ordinance, right now the law is being broken. So until there's an ordinance change, the law is being broken. For this specifically, I would talk with the building director, Bill Dishroom.
To get like an extension or?
He would give you direction from there. I don't want to speak on his behalf because I want to stay in my lane.
Okay.
That's his world.
Yeah.
Our lane is
I
the
mean, I
legal
wish they
part.
would have told
He's
me
the
that,
enforcement
like,
part.
when I was there, that I wouldn't have to come here at 7 o'clock at night and wait through everything for something like this. Like, I wish there was somebody in the department to be able to tell me, other than, oh, you might have to pay $500 and they'll still tell you no.
Okay. Either way, ma'am, you'd have to start with Bill Dishroom if you'd like to see what can be done about this. That's the building director. That's the top guy. He's online right now. so
Ordinance
he's-
director.
I'm sorry, the ordinance director. He's online right now, so he's hearing all this. You can contact him tomorrow if you'd like. I don't have his number memorized, 791. Well, I'll call the
001.
clerk's office or get it online. I don't have it memorized, all the same, or pretty close. And then you could go from there. And as far as ordinance, like I mentioned, you'd have to get a hold of one of the council members.
Okay,
Thank you for coming by.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hi, Pamela Swerple, Dearborn Heights, Kenmore Street. You're talking about community policing and how important it is to the community. It really breaks my heart that you didn't even know that Brock Botcher is related to Jason Mikowski, who was killed in the line of duty in 2006. I'm sure you also didn't know that Jason Mikowski's son is 18 and just graduated high school last year. So I think that for community policing, you need to learn who's in your house before you expect to kind of extend it out past the community. You've got people working with cancer. You've got people working with wives with cancer. You've got people working with babies that have died. You've got people working with babies that are special needs. You've got families that are going through turmoil. And none of you guys know this because the police officers show up every single day, put on the vest, and protect the public. Yes, I'm a police officer's wife, so I don't want to hear all the backlash about how a wife's coming up here ranting and raving for their spouse. I'm speaking for myself. It's very disheartening hearing this. There was also another officer killed in the line of duty. Do you know who that is? Not one of you, right?
When did it happen?
I'm just asking you. Nobody knows, right?
I wasn't here until
Everybody here on the council
2009.
needs to research the city. Dowdate, he was killed in the line of duty in a car accident.
Yeah, the room is named after him.
I'm sorry, what?
That room at the police
Yeah.
station is named
Yeah,
after him.
and nobody probably knows why, correct? Correct? Nobody knew that Jason had a son that graduated last year?
No, I
But you're
didn't.
talking about how important community policing is. You don't even know your own police officers, but you're judging them, and you're treating them horribly, and you're stomping around and making it unbearable right now. And you need to stop. You need to take a step back and say, you know what? These people are human beings. They have families. They're going through stuff. They might be taking care of a parent that's dying. You don't know. I'm not going to keep ranting and raving because I'm pretty sure all of you guys get this. But Brock Botcher, his dad was a police officer. His grandpa was a police officer. Jason Mikowski, his cousin, was a police officer. Jason's dad was a police officer. And you also have a reserve, Ryan Lockard, that's a reserve officer for the city of Dearborn Heights. None of you know this because nobody checks. But you want to rant and rave about things that need to be changed.
I do know the Bodger family.
Okay, well,
And-
you
and,
do.
And I remember Frank Bodger
Okay,
for many years before that.
okay, but everybody else is looking at me stone-faced.
Well, I know Mr. Boucher is, but if with respect, I'm not understanding where this is going.
Because he's saying that he's all involved with community policing and he
No,
wants,
I think
he
he's
wants
requesting for
he-
community policing.
Okay, but if he wants community policing, he also needs to know the police officers and what they're going through.
And
Do you know any police officer whose wife has cancer?
No, I mean, that
A
stuff
police
is
officer that's
violates
working with
HIPAA.
cancer, a baby that just was born prematurely?
That would be a HIPAA violation.
That'd be a
if he
HIPAA
said-
violation.
No, because they talk about it. It's asking your
Yeah, but no-
officers if they're okay. Asking your officers if they need anything. Paleco did it. Paleco did it. You can laugh all you want. That's completely inappropriate. I don't care either. That's completely
Okay, ma'am,
inappropriate.
ma'am, if you don't mind, keep
Please.
this through the council chair.
Okay, all I'm saying is know your officers, know your staff, know these workers, know why they're upset. Figure it out. Ask them what you can do to help. Everybody has stress in their lives. Also, do you know ordinance NH 1807, section 2? Do you know that ordinance?
Can you repeat that?
NH 1807, section 2, what dash 1? Do you know that one?
No, I do not.
No, please.
The last mayor you guys threw under the bus because he was driving around in a car that didn't have a city logo. You showed up today with that car, right? City car? Right? Where's the logo?
She's referencing you.
I believe the car was just purchased, so.
Where's
and-
the logo?
Just for full disclosure, there are reasons that I can't get into, but I did have a conversation with the mayor about that, and
It's not a lease.
I leave it
It's not
at
a
his
lease.
discretion to discuss it.
It's not a lease. I know what the ordinance says.
I proposed that ordinance, by the way.
Right, so if you're aware of it, how come he's driving
I
around?
have not even
Rules
seen.
for thee, but not for me?
I have not seen the car.
Oh, it's out in the
yet,
parking lot.
personally.
He drove it today. It's a
Well,
black
then-
Durango, and there's no markings on it identifying that he's a city employee. Zero. How long you been driving it?
Listen.
Don't want to answer? You don't want to answer that?
I can tell you that we
Okay.
just voted on this, so it's fairly new.
But he's had the car for a while. I've seen him driving it around.
It's a short time, ma'am.
But again, Pamela, we did have, there are reasons that I don't want to discuss here in a public, but there are reasons, at least at this particular point, temporarily, as to why this is the case, per the conversation with the mayor.
So
That I don't want to
there's-
discuss here publicly at this point.
But that's the problem, is nothing's discussed publicly. and
Well,
most of what he's
no,
doing.
there's reasons as to why it is not discussed publicly, and I don't want to get into more details because then it'll make it obvious, but it's for the best of the city as a whole. Trust me on this one. I hope you can trust me on this one. I would never be okay with this unless there's good reasons, and there are good reasons. I had a conversation with the mayor about it.
There's
at
good
this-
reasons for him not to identify it's a city car.
Pam, is
I
your
don't
name
want to get
Pam?
into details.
Okay. What?
Wouldn't you be happy if we did something like a proclamation for special officers on that order?
For what?
For a service committed that was above and beyond?
What are you talking about?
I'm suggesting that we institute something where, like this particular officer we've been talking about tonight.
You do. I mean, they do get awards. They
All
do
right.
get awards and stuff like that. But the problem is that this new administration has done nothing to get to know who the officers are at all whatsoever. He hasn't done anything in regards to trying to build a bridge with these officers. He's done everything to separate the officers.
I don't believe that.
I do. I do. And I mean, we talked before you got elected, and you told me that you were going to build the bridge and that you were going to be there for the officers. And you said that you were pro-police and you were all this and that, but I haven't seen it yet at all.
You have a new police chief who was here this evening, who
This
is
has nothing to do
building
with
bridges at this point.
I'm not talking about the police chief at all.
All right.
I'm not.
She's over by now.
What?
No, I'm just making sure that you were allotted the right amount of time.
Yeah, I asked for
Yeah,
4 minutes.
right,
I mean,
and I
it's
did
just,
say
it's
you-
disheartening to me that you know, you want to do community policing, that's great, but know your community within your employees even. It has nothing to do with the HIPAA, just know who they are, know their history with the family, know their generation people, know who's lived in their city the entire life, who's never said, I'm going to leave this city, I'm completely devoted to this city.
But in retrospect, I don't think I would want the mayor to come to me and say, you know, Officer A's got cancer. That would be inappropriate for
No,
him.
Officer A could come to him though, but he's unapproachable.
That's wrong.
It's
I'm
not
not going
wrong.
to get, I'm not going to get into that part, but I'm
Well,
just
I'm not
saying.
going to argue with you because I
But
know.
I'm not, there's no argument, but
Just
if,
like when I asked you about Operation Snowflake, where you put a little snowflake, I tried to email you, you refused to answer it. Something as simple for the community, Operation Snowflake, where it's a little snowflake so that it alerted people that the citizen needed help shoveling snow, and it was ignored. And just like with my son in North Dakota, there's a grant thing going on for wandering Alzheimer's patients. I sent it to him, he ignored it. He's ignored everything that I've sent since he's been mayor. Everything. He's making himself completely unapproachable to anybody. And-
Ms. Swarpo, I got a question for you. And just to be fair, you've told me that you've had conversations with the mayor prior to being elected.
Yep, and he's
And
completely
let
flipped.
me, and again, I'm not going back and forth. I'm not defending the mayor. I'm all about open communication. Just speaking for my behalf. And I understand you're extremely upset. One, kind of like Muscat said, or Councilman Muscat said, if somebody's got cancer from another office, I personally have a great relationship with a lot of the officers, but I don't know somebody's personal life. But I can tell you something, if somebody gives me a call, I'm there. Also, as far as the mayor goes, and you can ask Stephanie right there, you can ask the chief of staff, and you can ask former chief of police, Lee Gavin. I walk in there, I walk into the mayor's office, and I have those conversations, I
But
close
that's
the door.
because you're Mo.
You know, but I promise you, Mrs. Swarple, if you walked in there, and you know what, the day you were turned away, give me a call, I'll walk you right in
Okay,
there.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, walk right in there and
Okay,
have
I'll
that
see you tomorrow.
conversation.
Are you open
But
tomorrow?
I'm asking Mrs. Swarple that, look, and I'm not trying to go back and forth, but if you're gonna do it, it's gotta be with respect.
Yeah,
Because if
same-
anybody's
goes
gonna come to me
both
with
ways.
disrespect, I'm gonna close the door,
But
and
it
that's
goes
fair
both
to him.
ways too, right?
What's that?
Respect goes both ways.
It does, and I
Okay.
promise you, if you walk in there respectfully, the mayor's gonna give you his respect.
I hope so.
Tomorrow, I'll even walk you in
You
there.
can walk with me.
Let's do
You
it.
can be my third-party person.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Respectfully with smiles, though.
Okay.
I will see you there tomorrow at any time. I will personally give you my number before
I'll
I
have to
leave.
check my calendar. If not, then we'll have to pick a different day, but absolutely.
That's fine. I will hold that with you whenever you want to go in, and I
Yep.
promise you the mayor's going to be open to it. Would you not, Mayor?
Always open,
Always
What?
open.
What'd
as
you
long as
say?
I'm not in the meeting.
What?
He
I'm
said it's always
my
open
door's
as long as
always
it's not in the
open.
meeting.
As long as
Okay, well, we
my
can make a meeting
Okay.
for us.
There you go.
Pamela, just
You
to
can
be
do
fair,
that.
we're way over the time, so.
Okay.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Anybody else with public comments?
I think Bilal has given up his every time, but it's okay.
too bad, Bilal.
Good evening, Hassan Saab, John Daly, Dearborn Heights.
Closer to the mic.
Hassan Saab, John Daly, Dearborn Heights. In reference to the young lady who was here, she says that the mayor is not approachable. That's her choice and decision. But when she sits on social media and bashes every single person and unblocks every person, back it up. Yeah, walk out. That's exactly her point.
Okay,
She always
Hassan,
walks out on
keep
things.
comments
Keep
here.
Keep it
Second
respectful.
thing is, I want to thank the Department of Public Works workers and every person at City Hall that does work. They are good people, they're great people. Hope something is reached for them. They are the backbone of the city, they really are. But I want to get back to the police department about community policing. There was no such thing as community policing in this city, and there still isn't. If the approach the mayor's coming with to have community policing, great. Young lady that was just here wants to mention how good officers you have. How many officers have violated the law in the past 2 years, that have violated my rights in the past year? It's been brought up to the city, been brought up to the state. Why doesn't she talk about those? She wants to talk as a spouse of an officer. Okay, why don't you talk about the wrongs in the department? And for the mayor or anybody else to come say, hey, the officer has a medical condition, that's a violation of HIPAA law. I mean, she should be wise enough to know that. Well, Mayor, you've always been open to us, and every person on council has always been open to everybody. I don't know why she's the only person that has a problem, it seems like. But you guys have a good evening, and I hope negotiations get through with the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan. Yes.
Finally.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, my name is Bilal Hamoud. I am a resident, 16860 West Adder Drive. Just want to start off by saying Happy International Women's Day to all those who serve and all those who are in the audience. And
Yeah, another one that wants to get me in trouble.
I come from a family with a very strong mother, a soft-spoken father, and 3 younger sisters. So it's a very important day for us. And so just want to say that. I did also want to say thank you to Councilman Baydoo and Councilman Muscat and all those who've been working on ensuring that the safety on the Ford Road and Gully intersection is a priority. I think it's been something that's been talked about for countless meetings, and I'm glad to see some progress being made on that. I am here today just to announce that we recently partnered with the fire department and with the Islamic House of Wisdom on Arbor Trail to host a community, city, and cultural event titled TBD. But the goal of the event is to share a lot of these new translated resources that have been worked on, a lot of the resources with the city.
Who's collaborating here? I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's the fire department and the Islamic House of Wisdom. Okay. And hopefully, what I want to talk about a little bit is the city as well as bringing it up to the Community and Cultural Relations Commission. We missed you guys at the last session, but the opportunity to vote on it, and it'll be on the agenda, will be the day before the event. But would still love to have you guys be a part of that. But the goal of the event is to help connect exactly what has been spoken about here today: the city, the services it offers, and the people. And so we're going to be looking to partner with the city and all of its services to bring that to the residents who attend the mosque. And we're going to be doing this on April 8th, the first Friday of Ramadan, during prayer around the afternoon time, to help again engage with that cultural side of the city. We're going to hopefully work with the police department as well and the new chief to help bridge that gap. So just want to say thank you to the fire department for making that happen, and looking forward to what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience for public comments? Ron, you're next. Ron asked for an extra minute. He's got a couple items that he'd like to go over with the residents.
Oh, sure.
Don't start.
No, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
My name is Ron Frenzy, and I live on Fairwood Street right here in Dearborn Heights, and I bring you good news. So the city engineer, that Mr. Ali Depp, I think he's doing a terrific job, and I think he's got almost a shovel-ready project with Ecorse Creek to clean that up. I mean, he's really close, or he may have it all done. And the reason I'm calling about that is that back on November 15 last year, the federal government passed a law, and it was a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. Now, that number is so fantastically big, no one can really put their hands around it. But it turns out that what that actually means, it's 6,000 $200 million projects that they're giving away. 6,000 projects. And the reason I chose the 200 million is because that Mr. Deeb said that that's how much it's going to cost if you did it right to actually clean up the Ecorse Creek. And if you take 6,000 projects divided by 50, 50 states, that's 120 projects per state. So there's no way that state of Michigan is going to have all that. So how do you really apply? This law is so complicated, it's 3,000 pages, and you have to actually hire a special governmental consultant to get the money. So where do you look? One way is you could, I think some of the people on the stage has experience with Plant Moran. They probably have a special division that works on getting grants from the federal government. Or I did some research on the internet. This Walpert group is down in Ohio. They do this also. And I listed their toll-free number and also their website. I would also contact Debbie Dingle, that even though I guess she represents mostly Ann Arbor now, she knows Congress backwards and forwards. So she could probably give an example of what governmental consultants are in the Detroit area. And then I listed 3 websites, YouTube websites. They're each over an hour, and they talk about a little bit about what's involved getting all this money. Another really good website I just picked up yesterday was called build.gov, and that lists, again, how to get some of this money. It's extremely complicated, but the money is there. This infrastructure bill is so big, they divided it into 2 names. One's called ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, or the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill. It's 3,000 pages. I mean, I probably haven't read 3,000 pages in my life. It's so big. They have it divided up, instead of one pool of money, they have it divided up into maybe 14 to 16 to 18 parts. One part is called environmental cleanup, and they've got 21 billion there just waiting to take. Another one is called climate change protection. That's $50 billion. So this could be really for this Ecorse Creek cleanup. And then also, you could have a separate project. What I would call infrastructure also is filling in all the cracks in the streets. So what the city of Wyandotte does this every 15 or 20 years that they do this, and somebody could contact them and again, through this governmental consultant, try to write a proposal and get that done. And last thing is, they have what they call government services for like $10 million. You could have that pay for the government consultants, so it wouldn't cost you anything. So it's just that all this money is available. It's something to go over and get, but it's very difficult.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
And then Mr. Deb, in this magazine, Mr. Deb says that in his department, he has a person assigned for grants. So if anybody knows a government consultant, like Debbie from Debbie Dingle or from Plant Moran, they could contact his consultant, and then they could go from there.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. Anybody else in the audience? All right, we'll go ahead and go to Zoom next.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
We do have one on Zoom.
Okay.
I'm going to ask them to unmute. There we go.
All right, this one's for Rasha Saad. If you could unmute, please.
Yep, she's.
Yes, good evening. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. I'm reaching out because I reached out to Councilman Moby Dune regarding the parking at Riverside at the golf course. It's ridiculous. Something needs to be done before any kid gets hit by a car, because people are entering the golf course, they're parking the way they want, and it's bad. And they don't even look when they're leaving. So I know I did get a hold of Dr. Musalam, superintendent. I spoke with him. They said first of the year they had cones out.
Okay, Rasha, if I could interrupt you for just 1 second, because it's coming in convoluted. So please speak into the microphone. You may have to slow down a little bit. I know you're a little emotional about this, but you may have to slow down a little bit.
I can barely understand.
Yeah, because so I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. If you're moving around like this, it's not gonna pick up well. So if you don't mind, please start again. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. You just gotta slow down a little bit because you're talking so fast. It's hard to hear on Zoom.
Okay, I got a hold of Councilman Moby Dune, and I am very frustrated. It's not just me, there's other parents. The parking at the golf course when students are being going to school or being dismissed, the parking is ridiculous. There has to be another entrance and another exit. People are parking like crazy. They block other drivers. They drive off speeding. Some kids almost got hit, and I don't want to wait until a child gets hit by a car for the city to do something. And the reason why I got a hold of the city is because I know the golf course is for the city. Because when I spoke with Dr. Musalam, he told me, we can put cones in the parking lot and the golf course, but the golf course is owned by the city. So Councilman Mobaydun, I did reach out to him. He told me he's going to try to see what they can do for the parking at the golf course, but please, something needs to be done.
Okay. Thank you, Rasha. Was there anything else, or that was it?
You know what, I do see, to be honest, with all due respect to Dearborn Heights Police, all I see is just one car. And I don't see nothing, like when they sit in the golf course, I don't see them doing anything when the parking is ridiculous.
Okay. I appreciate that, Rasha. So that's something, obviously, either administration, I'm sure the mayor maybe will talk with the police chief, and maybe between them, the Board of Education, maybe can come up with something they can look into it. If you don't mind, Mayor?
Because the reason is, I know the golf course is owned by the city. So shouldn't the golf course be responsible for the parking, since if it's owned by you guys?
Rasha, I just want to reiterate a few things that when me and you spoke, I want you to know that, yes, the parking lot does belong to the city. However, we are giving access to parents to be able to use the parking lot. I know I've spoken with the mayor, and the mayor is said that if we can find a way to accommodate, they're going to. So, all hands are on deck.
Okay.
And I do want you to know, though, we are giving access. Ultimately, it can be shut down because of, liability insurance reasons. But I believe, but I believe what's happening is that the city is being opened here and allowing, parents to be able to park there, and then kids can run over to the car and they can leave. Now, ultimately, what could really ultimately happen is the parking lot can be closed, barricaded, and then nobody would be able to use it. And if you're saying that it's a safety concern, that's the last that I want to do, is that, the residents that are using it are no longer being able to use it.
Okay. The mayor had something to say about that. Mayor, go ahead.
No, as Councilman Baydun mentioned, especially if when you get a new company that's going to operate the golf course, if you use the parking, it's a city property, or whoever actually gets the golf course, it's going to be their choice to what to use the parking lot for, especially when you start having leagues, and if they have like a morning league or something. So, we can discuss it with the superintendent and see, what solution we can come up with.
The only thing Dr. Musalam told me that for them to expand, like if they want to take part of Riverside in the front and do it into a parking, they need a bond. And they don't know when that bond, they don't know when they can come up with the bond, whether this November or next November. But there's no parking. So if the golf course, the new company comes over, takes it, and they said the parents can't pick up their kids from there, then you got to consider traffic in the morning and in the afternoon.
Okay. Rasha, what I would probably suggest is either the mayor can contact the principal's office and have some sort of discussion with them on that. I'm sure with Mr. Musalam and the rest of the school board, I'm sure they'll all be on board to try to make sure to find something that's workable and continues to look at the children's safety. The mayor, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, the mayor is agreeing that he'll look into that and see where we can go from there. Just in case, if you could do me a favor, Rasha, so this way at least the mayor has connection to. I don't know if Councilman Baydun has your phone number. If he
has my name and number and phone number. Councilman
Well,
Baydun.
don't say it here. Don't say it here.
Don't say it here. I'll share that over with the mayor, and then hopefully the mayor or his chief of staff or somebody from his office can go ahead and reach out to you. And we want you to know that we understand where you're coming from, but you have to keep in mind that the city is allowing, like I stated earlier, and I believe Lynn here, who's on the school board for many, many years, is nodding her head and saying, we're offering this over, but new bids are coming. And so things may change. It could be for the better or for the worse. We can't make any promises. And I just
Including
want to
eventually re-asphalting the parking lot, eventually. And when that happens, I'm sure that maybe they could make some sort of arrangement to possibly make it safer. But thank you for your input, Rasha. We went a little bit over the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilman Moby Doon will get your number to the mayor, and then somebody will contact you, either the mayor's office or possibly from the police department.
All right, so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank
You're
you
very
so much.
welcome. You're very welcome. Councilman, go ahead.
You know, this comes right back to ourselves as citizens, and people are driving like, you know, like maniacs around here. And then they get a ticket and they come crying because they get a ticket. Again, we got to police ourselves. I mean, you're going to pick up your own children and then you're going to drive off in a parking lot like that. You got to start thinking about, you know, policing yourself, and you got to get with the program. I just don't understand why people do the things that they do. Again, you're picking up your child, and then when you pick up your child, you're racing out of the parking lot, and you get a ticket, and it's going to happen, or somebody's going to get killed, and then it's really going to affect the whole community.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay.
Move to adjourn? Move to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Councilman Ray Muscat, concurred with
Nancy.
Councilwoman Nancy Breyer. All in favor?
Aye.
State aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and you have a good night.